What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
10 Shish. Chapter 246 The Fetters of the Empress, Emperor Hancock. Advertisement. Luffy. Garp walked towards Crescent Bay step by step with tears streaming down his face. At this time, he felt extremely painful in his heart. The only grandson he was proud of disappeared so abruptly. At this time, Garp's heart was full of pain and self-blame. Why can't I make a move in advance? Why should I follow the so-called justice? If he had fought Whitebeard directly from the start, then Luffy would not have to die. And now Luffy takes his own life to tell the world how powerful Marine is. Everyone knows that although Whitebeard is still alive, it is a matter of time before he dies. It may be a few minutes, or the next second. Garp roared in grief and indignation. Road. Honey. Suddenly, just as he was about to explode and kill all directions, a cry more stern than Garp rushed out from Garp's side. Garp looked at the already blurred shadow in confusion. Ijo, why does it feel like your grandson died? Garp took a closer look. Ijo, isn't that Empress Hancock? When did she become so powerful? Hancock, wearing a purple cheongsam, shot straight at the Whitebeard pirates on Ozzy's back like an arrow. The speed made Doflamingo 183 dumbfounded. The terrifying conqueror's haki burst out from the Empress's body regardless of the difference, no matter Marine or pirates, all the minions with the strength below the colonel fainted instantly. Garp, Sengoku, Whitebeard, Akainu and others felt the terrifying conqueror's haki in a daze. This horrible haki is almost as big as the red hair. Advertisement. The faces of the captains on Ozzy's back changed. Not good. She's coming for Dad. The captain of the 6th team, Bremank, took out a huge hammer from his chin pocket and threw it at the flying Hancock. However, the rushing Hancock didn't stop at all, and the voice of grief and indignation spread throughout the battlefield. You dare to kill the person I love in heart and soul. Unforgivable. Unforgivable. I can't spare you. Hancock yelled loudly, and kicked directly at Team 6 Captain Bremank, Big Perfume Femur. The top-level armament haki emission, Conqueror's haki entanglement and the ability of sweet fruit instantly attached to Hancock's feet in a rage. Marco, who originally used green flames to renew Whitebeard's life, suddenly changed his face. Bremank. Hide quickly. Don't hit hard. However, Marco's words were obviously too late, and the terrifying power and haki instantly broke Bremank's armament haki. The huge hammer and the body were quickly petrified, and then instantly kicked to pieces on the spot. How is it possible? This is the power that can only be used by top powerhouses. Everyone looked at the Empress in shock. That's Whitebeard pirate officer, captain of the 6th division. He was instantly killed on the spot under the furious attack of the Empress. Protect Papa. Block her. The members of the Whitebeard pirates were stunned for a moment, and then angrily surrounded Hancock. However, at this time, Hancock is like a goddess of war who can block and kill the gods, and all the pirates who are not captains are kicked to pieces by the Empress. Slave arrow. The petrified arrows shot wildly at the pirates in front, and dozens of pirates instantly turned into stone statues. However, this is nothing but a drop in the bucket for tens of thousands of pirates. But everyone can see that the Empress at this time has actually reached the strength of the Emperor. This shocked the onlookers. Although nominally the 7 warlords of the sea, marine, and pirates are 3 parties of the same force, but the real strong people know that the strength of the so-called 7 warlords of the sea, except for Hawkeye, is not too strong. It's just because of its certain prestige that it was pulled out by the world government to scare little pirates and restrain marines. However, at this time, Hancock can easily kill the captain of the 6th team in a second. This level of strength has exceeded the strength of the Cadre level, and can definitely reach the level of the Emperor. However, what they don't know is that even Hancock doesn't understand why his strength has exploded like this. She only felt that anger was continuously turning into strength to increase her fighting power. Advertisement. And the reason for this surge in strength is precisely because of the fetters of Luffy. Bond. Empress Boa Hancock. The more injured the host Bebby is, the stronger the strength of Hancock, and the increase in strength is affected by the strength of the host. At this time, Luffy's body has completely collapsed, and the bonus brought by the fetters to Hancock has reached the maximum level. The strength of Hancock, who was originally in the middle of Shichibukai, exploded in an instant. Before the captains could react, hundreds of pirates had already died. At this moment, Vista, who had just slashed Moria, changed his expression drastically. He charged towards Hancock with 2 swords in his hand. As a great swordsman who can slash against Hawkeye, although his strength is not as good as Hawkeye, he can definitely compete with Hancock. The royal class played for a while. As long as Hancock's momentum is blocked, with the advantage of so many people, even a pile can kill her. After all, the Marines have all withdrawn to the port at this time. There are only many pirates left on the sea, trapped in the bay. At this time, the pacifists stuck at the mouth of the bay fell into the sea due to the melting of the sea water. A gap also appeared in the encirclement. Whitebeard barely managed to maintain this life during Marco's continuous attack. He shouted at the pirates. Everyone run out along the corpse. Make sure to come back to New World alive. He looked down at Marco who had been treating himself with Chingyan and said, you too, take Ace and get out of here. Father. Marco's expression changed. Ace shook his head frantically. No. I've already lost my brother, and I can't lose you anymore. Hoo la 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 la. Whitebeard laughed loudly, as expected of Ace. Your brother, Marco knows, right? I can't live anymore. That horrible attack made me feel death. Obviously your brother is not. I know why I stopped, otherwise I would have been reduced to powder now. That kind of power. When Whitebeard said this, he recalled the fear, which was out of the instinct of the body, and Whitebeard clearly felt that it was absolutely impossible for him to live in that situation. But the reality is that he is still alive, and Whitebeard is wondering whether Luffy gave himself time to explain his funeral for the sake of his big brother. Hearing what Whitebeard said, Ace felt even more grief in his heart. Whether it is his brother or his father, he hopes that they can become the existence of one piece. Luffy is the younger brother who gave him salvation when he was a child, and Whitebeard is the destination where he found the meaning of life after going to sea. Hoo la la la, that's enough. I can die in the hands of a strong man like your brother. Whitebeard laughed loudly, and then turned his attention to Hancock. I didn't expect the Empress of Shichibukai to be so strong. Marco, enough is enough. This is the final order of the captain. Lead the brothers back to the new world. My time has passed. Marco looked at his father with a complex expression, and tried his best to attach Qingyan to his father's empty chest, maintaining his weak lifespan. Whitebeard picked up Kong Yunshi's heroic laugh again. Let me see you off for the last time. However, a figure descending from the sky interrupted Whitebeard's bold words with a pitch-black iron fist. How can my grandson let you go for the fruits of his life? Ace looked at the black shadow in the sky in horror and screamed. Grandfather. Advertisement Chapter 247 Whitebeard is dead. Damn Akainu. Advertisement. Not good. Marco's expression changed drastically, and he turned into a phoenix and greeted Garp. However, Garp, who was furious at this time, directly hit Marco's head with a big B. Whitebeard yelled, Stop it, Marco. Take Ace and let them go. Garp yelled, None of you can go. Bang down. Garp's iron fist collided hard with Whitebeard's Kong Yunshi. Whitebeard, who was already at the end of his battle, spat out a mouthful of blood, and the blue flames on his chest shrank instantly. Father. Marco yelled anxiously, covering his head. Get out. Whitebeard growled. He smashed towards Garp with all his strength. However, Garp is the only combat power ceiling that is officially declared not to be weakened by age. Even the peak Whitebeard is not Garp's opponent, let alone Whitebeard at this time. The terrifying fist slammed into Whitebeard's face. The Whitebeard, known as the strongest man in the world, fell under this peak battle after all. The blue flames on his chest slowly extinguished, and Huzi exhausted his last bit of strength and stood up abruptly laughing. Hoo la la la, Garp. I didn't expect Lousy to be defeated by your grandson in the end. Dad. Ace yelled at Whitebeard with eyes wide open. Whitebeard happily shouted towards the sky without fear. One piece. It's. Pooh. Whitebeard's voice cut off abruptly. Everyone looked in astonishment at an arm that appeared behind Whitebeard, and a stick protruding from the arm directly took away the last trace of Whitebeard's vitality. Who is this, again? Everyone looked at the 5 figures walking out of the air door in astonishment. Bluno and the others, who were wearing uniforms with red clouds and black bottoms, walked out of the air door, and slowly said to everyone in the world, We are Pain. We are God. We accept Whitebeard's body. Daddy. Ace was furious when he saw this, and his right hand turned into fire and slammed towards Pain's 6 paths fiercely. Hungry Kido Kumadori stepped forward out of the crowd. Your attacks are useless against God. He stretched out his hands, and a terrifying suction force came, and the fire fist issued by Ace was instantly absorbed into the hand by the Hungry Kido's sealing technique. Nani. Advertisement. Everyone stared dumbfounded at the scene in front of them. Ace's flame has been absorbed. What kind of devil fruit ability is this? Garp frowned and looked at the pains in front of him. A few traitors from CP9. Captain Lakyo of the 7th Division watched his father die at the hands of these unknown men, and suddenly his emotions became extremely excited. You bunch of running dogs of the world government. Die to me. The meteor hammer in Lakyo's hand swung fiercely towards 6 paths Pain. Faced with the captain's attack, Pain didn't panic at all, and Bluno of Menman Fruit calmly took 2 steps forward and slapped the ground. Summoning technique Stone Panda. With a bang, a huge stone panda suddenly appeared in front of 6 paths Pain, and the huge meteor hammer hit the stone panda with a bang, splashing countless gravel, but Pain and the others behind the stone panda were unscathed. The human road that pierced Whitebeard used his ability to suppress the demon in Whitebeard's body. Shiradao saw the puzzled eyes of everyone, and Vice Admiral inserted black sticks into Whitebeard's body one by one. B***************** D. You are not allowed to insult the old man's body. Murloc Namur jumped up from the water, opened his mouth wide and bit towards Shiradao. His sharp teeth as a sharkman can crush even an iron axe attached to armament hockey. However, Shiradao kept moving his hands, but his head opened strangely like a petal, and the cyan laser burst out from the center of the mechanical head, piercing the sharkman Namur's chest in an instant. Nani. Seeing this, Sengoku's expression changed. Laser. Zon Taowen, who was originally in charge of blocking the road, also stared wide-eyed when he saw this. How is it possible? This is also a robot. Is that the same laser as the light source? He looked at the pacifist who had just climbed out of the water, and then at the freely moving Shiradao. No matter how he looked at it, his robots were more advanced, right? Captain Namur. Seeing that their captain was killed, the members of the 8th Division roared and rushed towards Pain. Beast Road Bluno immediately cast summoning technique, and terrifying giant beasts appeared in front of 6 paths Pain. What the hell kind of skill is this? What the hell has the world government cultivated? At this moment, Sengoku's heart was full of MMPs, and from the moment Luffy tried to stop Delaxi from assassinating Whitebeard, things were completely out of his control. However, what he didn't know was that, not to mention him, even the CP0s who were watching the game were stunned. They didn't know that Rob Lucci and his group had such strange skills. Hurry up and report to the 5 elders, Lucci and the others have appeared again. The jobber that Luffy Vice Admiral captured last time didn't come up with anything after all. This time, maybe we can learn about their secrets and contact our companions on the battlefield. Let Marine see if we can catch a few more. Yes, concealed messages were passed among the crowd. The reporters at the scene were already frying the pot at this time. The public execution this time has attracted too many forces. Marine, pirates, Shichibukai, and now even the recently appeared Akatsuki organization have come out to cut their heads. Asking for flowers. As journalists, they are completely obsessed with these explosive news. The only downside is that the battle situation is already in chaos at this time, and they don't know what's going on now. It can only spread the battle situation to all parts of the world intact. Advertisement. Soon 5 elders received information about Akatsuki's presence. The boss made a phone call to Sengoku without hesitation. Give up on chasing the Whitebeard pirates. Akatsuki must be taken down. Sengoku was furious when he heard the words, "Are you kidding? They have the legendary Pluton in their hands. Have you forgotten the tragedy of Eni's lobby? That's why I let you take them down. Otherwise, you will lose your position as marshal." 5 elders ordered to Sengoku without any doubt. Listening to the arrogant 5 elders, Sengoku sneered, "Whoever falls in love with whom? I have the final say in Marineford now. It is impossible for Marine to provoke the lunatics cultivated by your world government now." 0. After saying that, Sengoku hung up the phone without hesitation. 5 elders flushed with anger. This be ********** D Sengoku. Sure enough, the guy with Conqueror's Haki is not a good thing. Immediately, the boss took out a red phone bug from his pocket. HMPH, I expected you to do this a long time ago. Fortunately, we were prepared for it. Then Akainu, who was watching, suddenly felt a movement in his arms. Surprised, he took out the phone bug on his chest to connect. Want to be Marine Marshal? The voice of 5 elders came from among the phone bugs. Akainu was taken aback when he heard the words, and then he was overjoyed. After a while, he put down the phone bug in his hand, and looked at Pain's 6 paths in the middle with burning eyes. At this time, they are engaged in a fierce battle with the pirates of the Whitebeard pirates. Garp and Hancock also stepped back, watching what seemed to them a dog-eat-dog scene. Just by catching them, you can get the support of the world government. The corner of Akainu's mouth raised, and then magma burst out of his body and rushed towards Pain. Your heads are mine, Akainu shouted excitedly. Sengoku's face on the execution platform changed drastically. FK off and stop. You want Marineford to become the second Eni's lobby. However, Akainu doesn't care about that. In his opinion, as long as he can eliminate these criminals, what's the point of paying a price? Great eruption. Akainu ignored Zan and threw it straight at Pain. However, what he didn't realize was that Shiradao had already stood up from Whitebeard's side. And Whitebeard, who was already dead, had circles in his eyes. God Pain Edward Newgate, manufacturing completed soil. Advertisement chapter 248 This Garp is too strong, Whitebeard is gone with one punch. Advertisement. Great eruption. Akainu's magma fist rushed directly towards the Pains. However, a tall figure suddenly stepped forward to block in front of several people. Everyone's eyes widened in horror. Marco, Ace and others even had their eyeballs jump out of their sockets. Dad. Akainu in midair looked at the Titan who suddenly appeared in front of him with a dazed expression. The iconic punching action appears, and the shock fruit ability is attached to the back swinging fist. Impossible. Akainu roared in shock, but what answered him was Whitebeard's fist bigger than his head. Boom. The loud noise accompanied by Akainu's muffled grunt smashed the zombie Oz's head out of a big hole. The strong vibration directly made blood flow from Akainu's nose and eyebrows. Whitebeard resurrected. Everyone looked at the majestic figure who stood up again with horror on his face. 410. Saw that Whitebeard kicked Akainu under him fiercely, and looked around. I am Pain. I am God, Whitebeard announced loudly to the world with a grin. The reporters in Sabaody fell silent, followed by a landslide of noise. Impossible. How could this happen? He obviously lost his heart. How could he stand up? Is that Pain really a god? He can resurrect the dead. Is it like controlling corpses like Moria? Stop kidding. Didn't you see that he used the shock fruit ability just now? Go and report to Master 5 Elders. The world is going to change. This shocking news flew in all directions of the world, and the spies of the big bosses of all parties immediately passed on such appalling things. On the battlefield, Sengoku was shocked when he saw the scene in front of him. How could the strongest man who was killed so hard come back to life? Advertisement. However, this is not the most shocking thing. What happened next made everyone feel even more hopeless. I saw Hell Road Kaku slapping the ground with his hands in seals, and the huge King Yama appeared in the live broadcast with his mouth wide open. A purple tongue with a long hand in the giant mouth suddenly stretched out, dragging Whitebeard into the giant mouth and began to chew wildly. Seeing this, Marco and Ace were furious and killed Kaku. The Hell Road. Damn it, let Dad go. It was so hard to see my father come back to life, but now he was chewed by someone. This made them, who were already so guilty, completely forget the captain's order from their father. Rushed directly towards. However, Kaku didn't pay any attention to them. Reincarnation technique. King Yama's big mouth opened, and Whitebeard, who was intact, came out of Yama's mouth. He picked up Kong Yunchi next to him and swung it vigorously, and the atmosphere in the air was torn apart. A fully intact Whitebeard without a single scar reappeared in front of the world. At this time, Sengoku's phone bug rang frantically. Sengoku frowned and connected to the phone bug again, and the excited voice of 5 elders came out. Sengoku. I order you to keep pain at all costs. This kind of power has surpassed the threat of the 3 ancient weapons. If even Whitebeard can be revived, what about Roger? What about Joey Bowie? At this time, 5 elders was full of fear of this so-called pain. Sengoku looked at the phone bug with a look of disgust. Hello. Can't hear you. Hey, there is no signal when talking. This broken phone bug, why is it dead? It looks like it needs to be replaced with a new one. After speaking, Sengoku hung up the phone bug with a snap. 5 elders of Mariajoy looked at the phone bug who lowered his head so angry that he almost pulled off his beard. The boss slapped the table that had attended hundreds of episodes and cursed. This damn Sengoku. He must be replaced. Quote. The inconspicuous Zoro and Sanji in the battlefield are looking at Six Paths Pain with painful faces. They are the only ones besides Robin and Khalifa who know that Pain is their captain. What the hell is Luffy doing? Sanji lit a cigarette and asked Whitebeard, who was pretending. How would I know? Let's just take a look. Zoro rolled his eyes wildly, and with his IQ, he was completely bewildered by the current battle situation. At this moment, the two of them suddenly discovered that Empress Hancock was planning to attack Whitebeard again. Sanji hurriedly ran to Hancock and whispered an explanation, and Zoro lost his way directly in the vast sea of marines. What did you say? Darling isn't dead. Hancock looked at Sanji with surprise and asked. When Sanji saw Hancock's face, his eyes suddenly turned petrified. Hancock looked at Sanji in bewilderment. I don't use the devil fruit ability, do I? At this time, Garp on the other side didn't know the news, and he saw the revived Whitebeard with a serious face. But remembering his lost grandson, he rushed towards Whitebeard without hesitation. Whitebeard. Garp roared loudly, and the fist attached to the senior armament hockey smashed down towards Whitebeard. Advertisement. Everyone looked nervously at Whitebeard opposite. They eagerly wanted to know whether the revived Whitebeard had the strength of his life. Tiandao Pain Whitebeard's Rinnegan slowly turned to Garp. Shock Fruit was launched, Armament Hockey was released, Conqueror's Hockey spewed out, and Conqueror's Hockey was slashed towards Garp's fist with Conqueror's Hockey. The fist and Kong Yunchi made the sound of gold and iron. In the next second, Garp's iron fist directly opened Kong Yunchi and hit Whitebeard's chest. With a muffled bang, Whitebeard's chest suddenly sank in, and then he fell down with a thud. For a moment, everyone looked at the scene in front of them in astonishment. How weak is Whitebeard? Or is Garp too strong? They looked at Akainu, who had been beaten with blood just now, and thought in unison, it really is that Garp is too strong. If Akainu knew what everyone was complaining about at this time, he would definitely vomit blood depressedly. And Garp quickly withdrew to the marine camp after punching, looking at Whitebeard strangely. This Whitebeard, a bit weak. Not only can't use Armament Hockey's high-level use skill emission, even Conqueror's Hockey winding can't just be released without thinking when playing. And this Conqueror's Hockey seems quite familiar to me. The reason for all this is naturally that Whitebeard, as a puppet of heaven, is a corpse, and will not have the consciousness of his life at all. And Conqueror's Hockey belongs to spiritual energy, the soul is gone, so where does the spirit come from? So the Conqueror's Hockey just now is the Conqueror's Hockey owned by 4.0 Luffy, which is why he feels familiar. Although Whitebeard's body is strong, emission and Conqueror's entanglement are Hockey's high-level skills, and this skill Luffy doesn't know at all. That's why Whitebeard, who was back in shape, was weaker. At this time, Whitebeard was hit hard by Garp and fell to the ground again. Everyone secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there is the marine hero Garp, otherwise the world might be in chaos. However, just when everyone was rejoicing, Yama's tongue dragged the fallen Whitebeard into his mouth again and chewed. Everyone watched this scene in horror. Impossible. How could such a thing happen? Everyone watched in horror as an intact Whitebeard came out of the giant mouth again. Olewa Pain, Kamida, Six Paths Pain put out an esoteric map and spoke to the camera phone bugs in all directions. Advertisement Chapter 249, Luffy who does sit-ups repeatedly. Advertisement. My name is Pain. I am God. We are committed to creating a world where everyone is equal. The name of our organization is known. Whitebeard's thick voice reached the reporters through the phone bug. The scene of resurrection from the dead completely shocked everyone in Marineford. The Marines were shaken and couldn't help but think, could they really be against God? Doflamingo looked excitedly at Pain who popped up suddenly. As the largest arms dealer joker in the underground world, he would naturally like to see such a terrorist organization from the Shao organization appear. At this time, he was thinking of finding a way to come to the door after the war and ask the gods if he wanted to make devil fruit with a smile. He has no respect for the gods. After all, he was a descendant of the so-called gods. He can see at a glance that the so-called gods are nothing more than celestial dragons. Sometimes he wonders if the celestial dragons are behind this group of people. After all, CP9's hell training is hardly a betrayal of the world government. At this moment, Whitebeard looked around. Beast Road Bluno used the door fruit to open the portal to another dimension. The other Pain of the original 14 CP9 walked into the air gate one by one. Only Whitebeard remained in place. Ace and Marco were overjoyed when they saw this. Daddy, come back soon. However, Whitebeard did not respond to the other party's intention at all, and saw Whitebeard slowly floating towards the sky. Feel the pain, think about the pain, accept the pain, and understand the pain. Those who do not understand pain cannot understand true peace. Quote. I saw Whitebeard flying higher and higher under the astonished eyes of everyone, and soon turned into a small dot floating in the air. Everyone looked at Whitebeard strangely. Isn't Whitebeard Paramesh a shock fruit? How can it still fly? Didn't he talk about creating peace? Why did he talk about pain? Could this be ascending to heaven? Flying higher and higher. Everyone looks at the black dot and whispers to Whitebeard on the screen. Until under the sun's rays, Whitebeard was fixed in the midair, and the voice spread throughout Marineford with chakra. ... From now on, let the world feel the pain. Shinra Tenji. Nani. The faces of Sengoku, Garp and others changed. Everyone in the Whitebeard pirates stared wide-eyed. Advertisement. With Whitebeard as the center, a terrifying repulsive force pushed in all directions. The clouds in the sky were swept away, and the terrifying shock wave centered on Zombie Ozzy hits both pirates and Marine. Even pirates at the captain level were blown away by the impact. The sea water in Crescent Bay was swept away by the repulsive force again after Ace Kano was fully liberated. The terrorist attack that swept across Marineford rushed in all directions. Not good. This must be the attack used when destroying Eni's lobby. It's over. This is an attack comparable to Pluton's blow. There is no way we can survive. Rinnegan is not planted by Nagato. After the system processing, there is no Eni rejection. It is more like adding Rinnegan's function to the corner of Luffy's eyes. Therefore, the Shenluo Tianjung used by Luffy is far less expensive and more powerful than Nagato's. Many pirates screamed and were beaten into the air by Shenluo Tianjung, and the weak pirates were even crushed into meatloaf. And the same shock rushed towards Marine mercilessly. Kizaru and Aokiji, who were paddling, suddenly appeared beside Akainu. Akainu looked at the two people who came out of nowhere and just wanted to scold her, but he didn't have time to complain when he saw the plight of the pirates on the other side, so he stretched out his hands and used the armed high-level hockey emission to form a protective wall in front of him. The same goes for Aokiji and Kizaru. However, Shenluo Tianjung's attack is not a parallel impact like Whitebeard's, but a spherical shock wave that pushes in all directions. Even with the strength of 3 admirals, it is still not enough to block the impact of the entire Marineford. The crescent ports on both sides were smashed into pieces in an instant. The live TV screen went black instantly. The nobles, pirates, and reporters in Sabaody looked at this doomsday-like scene in shock, and it can be said that there was no armor left behind in the shock wave. It's over. This Whitebeard is so strong. What Whitebeard? That's Pen. It's God. Superstitious viewers have already knelt on the ground and prayed to Pen for forgiveness. The supernovas looked at each other and really couldn't imagine how such a terrifying organization would appear. This is really a battle to become famous, sweeping the 2 major forces of Marine and 4 Emperor's pirates in the world live broadcast. It's just outrageous. Advertisement. The phone bugs outside the venue went black one after another, proving the death of the live phone bugs. The Marine in the bay trembled when he saw this terrifying scene. Is it true that the sky is going to kill our Marine? The pirates on the opposite side didn't even have the strength to curse, most of them were shot into the sea by the repulsion. Seeing that the attack was about to break Marine's last line of defense, suddenly a huge golden logo similar to a seagull appeared in the sky. That is the unique symbol of the sea world, which represents the world of gods in Lelouch's world. Stop. A coquettish voice sounded from the sky. Accompanied by the golden light all over the sky, the attack came to an abrupt end. Luffy's figure slowly condensed from the golden light. I, Monkey D. Luffy, once swore to stop such an evil force like you. As long as you know where the organization appears, I will definitely appear and expel you 240 with all my strength. In the name of absolute justice. So I came back from the land of Shinigami, just to stop you, the evil on the sea. God gave me the power of immortality, and those who believe in me will have eternal life. I am willing to sacrifice my life for the rebirth of our Marine righteous fighters. Wake up, brave warriors. Heretician. I saw that Luffy's hands were in seals, and his eyes were shining with gold. The title of, I am God, worn by the system made all the watching Marines feel the radiance of God appeared on Luffy. Reporters in the Sabaody archipelago could hear the sound of pens dropping. The aristocrats in the stands, and the Marine family members in the stands have been watching Luffy on the broadcast with complete admiration. Garp looked at his grandson excitedly. Haha. My grandson is still alive. Sengoku frowned and looked at Luffy. What the hell are you doing? Kizaru looked at Luffy blankly. At this moment he didn't even bother to say anything, and didn't even want to show an expression. Akainu is like eating a fly, so this guy is not dead. When everyone was guessing what Luffy was going to do, a huge Hades tens of meters high rose from the crescent bay emptied by Shenluo Tianjung and opened a huge mouth. Heretic Rinne Tensai technique. Luffy's hype spread throughout Marineford. Advertisement Chapter 250 God-Making Plan. Take control of the Marine. Advertisement. In the end, countless souls representing Marine flew out from the giant Hades. It shot towards the ruins of Marineford like a sky full of shooting stars. One after another souls entered the body of the dead Marine in the battlefield. The huge cyan halo of the soul enveloped the entire battlefield like a miracle, and everyone looked at the cyan light in the sky in a trance, not knowing what happened. A fallen comrade suddenly opened his eyes and looked around in a daze. The Marine in charge of handling the body screamed and attracted the attention of the Marine next to him. Then, in the shocking eyes of everyone, one after another Marine who had been declared dead got up from the ground and looked around in confusion. Marine who was still alive stared wide-eyed at Luffy in the sky, and the Marine family members of the Sabaody archipelago even knelt on the ground and prayed devoutly. The CP hidden in the crowd murmured in shock, "This is God." When no soul flew out of the mouth of Hades, all the dead Marines in Marineford came back to life except for the unlucky child who died without a whole body. Heavenly Dao Pain Whitebeard fell from the sky and watched Luffy pretending to be angry, and shouted, "Is it worth it? Take your own life for the lives of these ants." At this time, Luffy looked old, and his life had come to an end, and he shouted impassionedly, "Of course it's worth it. They use their lives to protect the peace of the common people, and they use their flesh and blood to protect the justice in their hearts. They are pirates. The last bastion of peace of the era." The Marines below all looked enthusiastically at Luffy in the sky, especially the Marines who had died and resurrected once heard what happened after death, and couldn't restrain their hearts from surging. Whitebeard sneered. "But this world is just poor fellows ruled by a group of false gods. Won't you be controlled by those false gods after you save this group of trash?" Luffy looked at Whitebeard indifferently, like a heroic warrior. "I believe that from today onwards, these warriors only have true justice in their hearts, and they will no longer be deceived by any evil, because God will lead them to sweep the world away. Clear all evil." Then he looked down at the Marines. "Cheers, it means the dawn has come." Whitebeard shouted. "Let go of you this time. I will come back again." Said that an air door was created out of thin air, and Whitebeard disappeared into it. At this time, the Marines cheered deafeningly, and Luffy's name resounded like a tsunami in Marineford. "Long live the Golden Lion. Long live Luffy. Long live the gods." All the lower-level Marines have completely become Luffy's fanatical believers. Only Sengoku, Garp, Crane Vice Admiral, San Admiral and those strong-willed Marine Vice Admirals vaguely feel that something is wrong. Advertisement. But facing the resurrected Marine soldiers, they seem to have no other ideas except believing that God exists. Of course, there are a few members of the Straw Hats who also know the basics. Sanji lit a cigarette, took a deep breath, and he knew that it didn't matter if he said the so-called truth out loud now. In the eyes of this group of Marine elites, Luffy has completely transformed from a human into a god, or the messenger of God. Usopp looked at Luffy who fell from the sky with admiration in his eyes, and finally melted into two words in his mouth. "I'm so awesome." However, many Marines fell into grief again after seeing the fallen Luffy. In their view, Luffy distributed the life bestowed by the gods to his dead comrades. Hancock quickly hugged Luffy who died again and cried, "My dear." Many Marines bowed their heads and once again offered the highest salute to this hero. When everyone was immersed in sadness, a golden seagull representing Sea World lit up from behind Luffy again. With everyone stunned, Luffy's old body quickly regained its youth, and appeared in front of everyone again intact. Hancock tentatively asked Luffy, "Honey." Luffy smacked Hancock with a kiss, stood up abruptly and shouted to the crowd, "Hey, little ones. God was touched by my fearless spirit again and gave me another life." Marine executives. "Oh, what the hell, God is your own father, right? Sit-ups don't take you so outrageously okay." But at this time, those 100,000 elite soldiers didn't care about that much, and the deafening cheers came again like mountains and seas. Hooray! Hooray! At this time, Luffy's body shape has returned to his relatively thin body shape because of the expiration of the Ace Kano template. He casually picked up the cloak of an unknown buddy beside him and put it on his back, using Rinnegan's ability to directly float up. Advertisement. Luffy waved his hand in midair. "Little ones. What are you waiting for? Didn't you see that group of pirates running away? Kill me. No one left. Well, except ours, no one will stay except Undercover Ace." Marine executives. "Oh, damn, you are already blatant. B*****************. D. However, at this time, Luffy's orders are better than Sengoku's. Everyone is shaken by Luffy's miracles over and over again. In terms of coordination, the title of "I am God" wears friendly believers +10 worship, loyalty +10. At this time, Marine's power can be said to be completely controlled by Luffy. Although those general-level officers still maintained their sanity, the backbone of the entire Marine had been completely hollowed out by Luffy. And most of Luffy's long-standing goal has been achieved. After this battle, as long as he wants, he can take the entire Marine system out of the world government. Of course, Luffy will definitely not break skin with him for a while. After all, the source of income is a big problem. This is the first task that Luffy will solve next. After all, it is impossible for him to take Marine to rob, right? And before finding out the real trump card of the world government, Luffy will definitely not be able to rashly start a war with it. Because of the layout this time, Luffy discovered a disadvantage of the power of the Code God. That is, when Luffy's physical strength is too strong, the time for the world to reorganize his body will also be extended. After all, the world of Lelouch of the Rebellion is a world that focuses on technology, and the level of power in it is not too high. The so-called Nuo Hao Code's divine power is to intercept and retain the soul of the host in the Sea World after the death of the host, and then use the power in the Sea World to reorganize the backup body and send it back to the original world. And when Luffy died this time, it was loaded with the template of Ace Kano. The power of Ace Kano originally came from angels, and it was also the power of gods. And Luffy's body was at its peak at 1 minute at noon. This also caused the power of God in World C to reorganize Luffy's body extremely slowly. It was not until Ace Kano's template failed that World C quickly reorganized Luffy's body. That's why it took so long for Luffy to show up again and kill Whitebeard. What the hell, I almost got out of the game. Fortunately, Marco's ability of the Phoenix Fruit delayed Whitebeard's death until Luffy's resurrection, otherwise the plan this time would be completely cold. Thinking of this, Luffy couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Good man, if it doesn't work, just leave a way for others to survive, after all, he is an insignificant little guy. Advertisement Chapter 251 Collapsed Ace, Regeneration Change. Novel image. Advertisement. P.S. The picture of Ace's episode is put. At this time, the Marines seemed to be fanatics and beat the drowning pirates hard. The pirates who had already suffered heavy casualties frantically swam towards the pirate ships outside the bend. Marine, who was originally on the defensive side, reversed the situation and headed towards the pirates in the bay. The faces of the 20 captains on the execution platform were already full of despair. Whitebeard is gone, and the Whitebeard pirates are completely defeated. What's even more frightening is that Luffy's big move Marine soldiers are all revived with full blood, which is simply outrageous. At this time, Ace and Marco relied on their ability to fly to send the captains in the water towards the large fleet outside the bend. However, tens of thousands of pirates can only be saved by just 1 or 2 people, even if these people are New World masters. Facing such a dense attack, soon their physical strength will not be enough to support the entanglement of their armed forces and they will be shot to death. Soon the surface of the sea was stained red with the blood of the pirates. Luffy. Ace growled angrily at Luffy, who was expressionless in the stands. At this time, Luffy looked at Ace and said coldly, I said, the Whitebeard pirates will be destroyed today. Ace watched the pirates who were originally brothers and sisters die unexpectedly, and he completely lost his mind. Luffy. Ace flew towards Luffy furiously, breathing fire from the soles of his feet. No, Ace. Marco's face changed greatly when he saw this, you are not his opponent. However, Ace at this time could not listen to Marco's advice. Ace, who was already easily irritated by emotions, not only was provoked in the original timeline to anger Akainu, but also caused the Whitebeard pirates to lose their only victory in exchange for heavy casualties, not C. At this time, Ace also forgot that Whitebeard finally issued the captain's order of 257 and killed towards Luffy. Hancock immediately raised his legs to meet Ace, but was stopped by Luffy. He gave it to me. Luffy looked coldly at Ace, who rushed forward. Garp in the other corner hesitated to speak, but finally did not speak. The furious Ace burst his fire fist and smashed towards Luffy, but this time Luffy did not use the fire control technique to restrain him. However, he flew directly to meet him, and Luffy's eyes in midair directly turned into the shape of Mangekyo, and the blue skeleton arm smashed Luffy's fire fist with a punch. What kind of move is this? Marine Vice Admirals gasped. The abilities Luffy has used since his debut are dazzling, but no matter which one they are extremely powerful. Ace saw Susanoo's pupils shrink, and he instantly recognized that it was the skill he used when he met Luffy in Alabasta. The speed of your moves can't beat my Luffy. Ace shouted angrily, why are you still not satisfied with winning? Do you really want to kill them all? Luffy looked at Ace with a sneer and said, are you still saying such childish things? Are you playing house? From the moment a pirate goes out to sea, life and death should be put aside. Don't you even understand this point? Advertisement. Do you think that this execution is purely for the purpose of establishing prestige? Don't be too naive. Do you think that the Whitebeard pirates are just sailing on an adventure at sea? They don't attack civilians. They just need to defeat the vicious supernova entering the New World. Want to know how many crimes are committed by the big ships under your Whitebeard pirates? Want to know how many people, BEBG, die every year because of your Whitebeard pirates? While Luffy was speaking, lightning surged on his body, and his breathing was even faster than Luffy's speed. With a bang, Susan's arm slammed heavily on Ace's body, and the huge impact directly smashed Ace into the port. The question just now, you can ask your dear Captain Marco, can you see if he dares to answer you? Luffy followed Ace's falling figure to the port. Susanoo's arm held Ace directly in his hand. Did you know that Blackbeard was targeting you in the first place? From the moment you left the Whitebeard pirates without authorization, the Whitebeard pirates were doomed. I don't care about your own death, but have you thought about how sad your death will make those who are worried about you? Have you ever thought how much the old man paid to keep you alive? Ace wanted to be elemental, but he found that Susanoo's arms were tightly wrapped around him like hockey. Hearing what Luffy said here, he roared angrily, do you think I am willing to live? Why should I be cast aside when I was born? I just want to find the meaning of my life. Sengoku, Garp, San Admiral and others fell silent one after another. Ace's identity was not a secret to them at all. But because of Garp's identity, he didn't bother to find Ace. Garp looked at Ace's appearance in pain, and at this moment he felt that he shouldn't tell him about Ace's life experience. Because in so many pursuits, it is found that Roger is not a vicious criminal, but an idealist who pursues freedom. In the process of chasing Roger, Garp also came into contact with the darkness of this world, and forged a deep friendship with Roger in the battle in the Valley of the Gods. He didn't want Roger's descendants to even know who his father was, so he never concealed Ace's life experience. However, seeing Ace at this time, Garp regretted it, maybe he should completely conceal Ace's life experience. It's just a coward who can't face up to his own origin, Luffy said to Ace lightly. Old man, have you found Yisika? Garp nodded. It should be in Sabaody Archipelago now, and you should be able to see it here. Ace's face changed when he heard the words. What are you looking for with Yisika? What you don't know is that Yisika is pregnant now, right? Luffy suddenly laughed and said to Ace. Ace's pupils shrank, and he lost his voice. How is it possible? Seeing Ace's expression like this, Luffy instantly felt at ease. He had thought of many ways to make Ace change his ways, but basically denied them all. Until he remembered that he had watched a variety show in which the editors of One Piece participated, which mentioned the side story about Ace created based on the Ace novel. That was when Ace captured Blackbeard. In order to avoid disasters for the common people, he deliberately hid in order to avoid his sharp edge. Advertisement. Accidentally entered a marine base, pretended to be a marine like Luffy, ate and drank, and met a female marine named Yisika in the process of pretending. Of course, the two must have some legitimate relationship in the end. In the feature film, Makino Bar in Windmill Town suddenly held a baby in her arms 2 years after the Summit War. And she is the wife of the proprietress of Windmill Village, neither married nor dating. Originally, Sea fans believed that the baby was Shanks' child, but after the exposure of the movie version, the conjecture of Shanks dating was shattered. The shirt with the S logo that the village head wore when he left the country corresponded to the cross tattoo on Ace's arm. And with Oda's foreshadowing of the madness and the urine of the happy finale, the regret of Ace's death will definitely be made up in the finale. So Luffy guessed that the baby was probably the offspring of Ace. So I directly contacted Garp to go to the G2 base to verify, but I didn't expect it to be as I thought. Ace's obsession is exactly the harm that Roger brought to him, and at this time, after learning that he has an heir, he froze in place for a moment. Luffy looked at Ace with a sneer and said, do you want your own child to have the same background as him? Isolated since childhood, hated since childhood, and embarked on the same path as you again. So, die as a pirate or live as an undercover marine, choose one for yourself. Ace opened his mouth weakly at this time. Luffy released Susan and threw him on the ground. At this time, Ace sat on the spot decadently, and the difficult choice made him feel desperate. Luffy finally gave Ace a fatal knife. Even if you choose to fight, it is nothing more than dying with your so-called brothers. Sometimes living is more painful than dying. At least you can clean them up on this day next year. Tomb sweeping, isn't it? Hearing this, Ace stared at Luffy angrily. Are you a devil? Luffy said to Ace with a smile. For some people it does. Ace immediately knelt down towards the pirates on the sea. Luffy turned around without any mercy, and didn't even need to find someone to control him, because he knew that Ace was useless, and what he saved was only his body, and his heart was already dead. But this has achieved Luffy's goal. After all, this is the best result for Garp, Dayton and everyone in Windmill Town. At this time, the massacre on the sea is still going on. Tens of thousands of New World pirates are not so easy to die. Not to mention that there are many captains and big pirates with bounties over 100 million. Sengoku looked at the scene in front of him and his heart was surging. This result was infinitely better than what he expected. Kizaru looked at Luffy's figure. His heart was full of shock. At this moment he really wanted to say his catchphrase. It's so scary. Akainu's heart is full of contradictions. As a believer in absolute justice, he should be extremely happy to see this scene, but when he sees Luffy, he is extremely shocked. However, at this time, everyone thinks that the overall situation has been settled. Suddenly a terrifying slash fell from the sky and slashed straight towards the execution platform. Several warships were instantly cut in two by the slash, and even the sea was instantly cut open by this slash. Nani. Everyone looked in the direction of the slash in horror. Advertisement Chapter 252, The Man Who Destroyed Half of Marineford. Advertisement. The huge slash will cut the sea and fly straight towards the execution platform. Who? Everyone looked at this flying slash in astonishment. The terrifying power seemed to cut the entire Marineford in half. Zoro looked at this terrifying slash with bright eyes, and his face was full of excitement. Great swordsman. Hawkeye even stood at the forefront and drew out a black knife to level A fiercely. A huge slash wave cuts in the opposite direction from Marineford. With a bang, two terrifying slashes exploded on the surface of the sea, and the huge waves threw the warships chasing the Whitebeard pirates tottering. Sengoku and Garp looked at each other, with a long-lost solemn look on their faces. Gia ha 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 ha. An insolent laugh suddenly spread from the sky. The Marines looked at the sky in astonishment. How can it be? A Marine looked at the sky in bewilderment and rubbed his eyes. Why did I see a ship flying in the sky? Marine beside him also murmured unconsciously. I seem to have seen it too. Sure enough. Sengoku stared at the approaching black shadow with a livid face. One Piece, a survivor of the era of Gall D. Roger. Huge golden lion prow, island-like stone bottom. Flying pirates. Golden lion Shiki. Garp looked at the huge ship above his head with a serious expression on his face. Once as famous as Gall D. Roger and Whitebeard, Edward Newgate, he cornered Roger, the first escaped pirate in the history of Impel Down. No matter which name is released, it is shocking, but when all these names are concentrated on one person at this time, it becomes the famous Marine Admiral Golden Lion. If it weren't for the sudden storm that ate Wall fought against Destiny's son Roger, there would be no legend of One Piece at this time. And just a few weeks before the Summit War started, Shiki had provoked Marine, sent a dozen warships to Marineford and left. Since Sengoku at that time had been preparing for a public execution, he only sent a few vice admirals to keep an eye on Golden Lion to prevent him from making trouble. Advertisement. However, how could Vice Admiral find a flying golden lion, so everyone naturally returned without success. In the original timeline, before Luffy and others arrived at the Sabaody archipelago, they encountered the golden lion who was cut into a dog in the theatrical version. Under a burst of sparks and lightning, this top powerhouse who stood shoulder to shoulder with Garp, Roger, and Whitebeard was inexplicably punched out by the theatrical version of the prince and was picked up by Marine. However, in this parallel world where Luffy went to sea and was starved to death, the appearance of Wong Luffy changed many plots in the original book, making him perfectly miss the encounter with the golden lion. And the golden lion destroyed East Blue originally to avenge Marine, and now Whitebeard is at war with Marine. How could he give up this great opportunity to destroy Marine? So Golden Lion, who was going to destroy East Blue, decisively gave up his original plan, and after gathering a large number of pirates who followed him, he turned around and rushed towards naval headquarters. As a result, when he arrived, he saw the scene of the Whitebeard pirates being defeated and slaughtered wantonly by Marine, and even Marine suffered very little casualties. Seeing this scene, Golden Lion immediately felt that he had been deeply insulted, just like Roger, who defeated him, turned himself in. It was so unbearable with the Whitebeard pirates, who was once a partner of the Rocks pirates. Golden Lion felt like 20 years ago. Angry as before. Sakura's 11th wave cut through the sea and headed towards the execution platform, officially announcing the arrival of the legendary pirate. Isn't it good to be a legend honestly? Has it come to take revenge on the world now? Garp frowned as he watched the flying pirate ship gradually approaching in the sky. At this time, even Luffy was stunned. Damn, why did I forget this big guy? Before, I always felt that I forgot something along the way, but I just couldn't remember it. As a result, he forgot about this Golden Lion boss who was as famous as Whitebeard and Roger. As a boss who aims to dominate the world, how could he miss this opportunity to completely destroy Marine? Garp and Sengoku do not have many shots at the same time. World Destroyer Berndy Waldo counts as one, and One Piece's left-handed bullet counts as one. And the big guy in front of him even challenged the entire naval headquarters with his own strength, and finally won it when Garp and Sengoku shot at the same time and destroyed nearly half of Marineford. How outrageous is it when the theatrical version of the boss appears in the main drama? Luffy had already seen it with his own eyes at this time. With a slash wave at his feet, the entire sea was divided into two. This is still weakened after Golden Lion self-mutilated his feet, but even if it is a slash with his feet, Hawkeye, the world's #1 swordsman, needs to take it seriously. Sengoku solemnly reminded the crowd loudly, cheer up. Golden Lion Shiki is as famous a pirate as Whitebeard. Lien-san Admiral has no objection to this, because they experienced the feat of Golden Lion singled out naval headquarters 20 years ago. Asking for flowers. Advertisement. The reporters of Sabaody Archipelago watched the flying pirate ship in the sky and swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva again. They thought that the Whitebeard pirate group had been wiped out, and the rest was waiting for the public execution time to arrive. Finish this one and Marine's big win is over. Unexpectedly, another Golden Lion of the flying pirates, which was not lost to the Whitebeard pirates, appeared again. This made everyone's hearts pull back and forth like a roller coaster. That's the flying pirates, a true legendary existence. Marine is in big trouble this time. Are you kidding? It's just a remnant of the old era. With Lord Luffy around, any legends will definitely become dead. That's not the same. You must know that in addition to his strength, Golden Lion Shiki is also a lion fruit ability user. He can let himself or objects float in the air without gravity, and he can control the objects he touches to float. Point 0. So what? Doesn't sound like a big deal. Idiot. This means that he can fly his pirate ship into the sky where the Marines can't reach. The flying pirates can attack the Marines below, but the Marines can't hit the flying pirates. Nani. In this way, wouldn't the Golden Lion be invincible? How about first say why Marine is in so much trouble this time? Let me tell you, my sister's husband's lover is the wife of an officer in naval headquarters. She once revealed gossip that the Golden Lion attacked naval headquarters not long ago. Walked away, and put down the rhetoric and said it was just a greeting. Oh my god, it's so scary. The family members in Sabaody talked and looked at the few live screens. At this time, above the flying pirate ship, a plank flew down from the ship. Sengoku reminded everyone with a serious face, here we come. Everyone looked nervously at another legend that was about to appear. A curtain floated out of nowhere on the wooden board to block the figure of the Golden Lion, and old disco music sounded. Behind the curtain, 3 black shadows began to dance to the music. With the people all over the world in a daze. With the rudder on his head, the Golden Lion with Sakura 10 on his feet, and a famous wooden knife, like 2B, he appeared in this epic war with a blue-haired clown and a chimpanzee in a pink shirt. Everyone. B. Carrot. Crazy Jong. Advertisement Chapter 253, The Invincible Golden Lion. Advertisement. Gia ha 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 ha. Sengoku. Garp, long time no see. Golden Lion laughed and greeted Sengoku and Garp below. Those who didn't know thought they were close friends of the two. And at this time, Yi, horrified, terrified, moo. The clown Indigo stepped on his leather shoes with horns and made silent gestures on the wooden board. Golden Lion roared with black lines all over his head, can't you find a way to solve your footsteps? D. Indigo. The clown swayed from side to side as if performing a pantomime, and everyone couldn't see what he was going to express, including his boss Golden Lion. Golden Lion frantically cursed at the clown. What the hell are you trying to say? The clown suddenly said loudly, didn't you just meet a few weeks ago? Everyone. You can G talk. Ha, 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 the chimpanzee in red clapped his palms and laughed loudly. Golden Lion stared at 770, with wide eyes and looked at the chimpanzee in shock and shouted, "Old, Mom." Indigo sad face D. No matter how you look at it, it's an orangutan. Roaring finished. The three of them suddenly posed like clowns to everyone. The marine below has been completely scorched by Lei. This is the legendary pirate who was as famous as Roger and Whitebeard. Seeing this, Garp covered his stomach and laughed loudly. Wow ha ha ha. 6666. Sengoku frantically yelled at Garp, who was amused by his stomach ache. Be serious. There is a war now. At this moment, Akainu couldn't bear it any longer and rushed towards the Golden Lion, cursing as he rushed. B************** D. What do you think of this war that gambles on honor? Dark Hound. The magma fist directly hit the Golden Lion. The originally funny Golden Lion with small round eyes suddenly sharpened his eyes. Don't be so anxious, our war has just begun. Jahahaha. Lion. Thousand Slice Valley. Golden Lion swung his legs suddenly, and the slash wave that had cut the sea earlier rushed towards Akainu as if he didn't want money. Seeing this, Akainu's face changed drastically, and he turned around in a hurry to try to avoid it, but the intensive slashing attacks directly covered Akainu, and with a puff, Akainu's chest was cut open. Advertisement. More slashes crossed Akainu and slashed towards Marineford, and if hit by moves, the entire Marineford would be cut into pieces by the slash wave. Don't be too arrogant. Golden Lion. Sengoku roared, and his whole body directly turned into a golden Buddha, and he directly met the Golden Lion's slash with a blow. With a bang, the moves of both sides collided in the air and disappeared. Jahahaha. Sengoku, this is just a meeting gift, but it's different from last time. I'm here to destroy your marine. Come if you can, I'll wait for you in the sky, Jahahaha. Golden Lion laughed and led his men to fly directly towards the flying pirate ship. Devil fruit that can fly is really rare in the pirate world, especially the guy like Golden Lion who developed devil fruit to ultimate. Rare. The audience of Sabaody Archipelago looked at the live broadcast in shock. They thought it was dementia, but Akainu was almost hacked to death when he was out. Now, after provoking in front of everyone, he flew away swaggeringly, but Marine has nothing to do. Pelusilino. Go up there and find your way. Sengoku ordered to Kizaru, who was paddling. Kizaru's face hurts, and he can't swim well. Akainu was hacked like this, and made himself work overtime. However, before Kizaru could fly up, the 10 sharp-eyed Marines pointed at Supreme and exclaimed loudly, Marshal Sengoku, look. Something has fallen. Everyone hurriedly looked towards the sky. The next moment everyone's eyes widened. I saw a dozen floating islands slowly descending from the height of 10,000 meters, followed by dozens of flying pirate ships flying towards Marineford. This is. Sengoku looked up at the sky with a livid face, the disappearing islands in East Blue. This guy actually did it. Some time ago, East Blue Islands have been disappearing inexplicably. Sengoku once sent people to investigate, but found nothing. Unexpectedly, it was moved away by the Golden Lion with the ability of Devil Fruit. The Marines looked at the flying island in disbelief. Isn't this ability too buggy? It's so scary. The legendary pirate is so scary, Kizaru muttered leisurely. Now is not the time to discuss fear. Sengoku's face was livid. Now we should think about how to attack the opponent. Aokiji looked at the flying pirates and the island who stopped motionless in midair, scratched his head and said, should we be transported up by Kizaru? Kizaru just rolled his eyes after hearing that. Can you G think of a more relaxing way? Advertisement. But what needs to be solved now is how to deal with the next attack. Luffy touched his chin. It seems that we can only be passively beaten. As soon as Luffy's voice fell, the pirates in the sky began to shoot wildly at the marine below, and the most outrageous thing was throwing stones from the small island. On the other hand, Marines' guns and cannons couldn't hit the pirates in the sky at all, but the stray bullets that fell almost caused accidental injuries to their own people. The Marines who were still beating the dogs in the sea just now suddenly found themselves in the same situation as the Whitebeard pirates in the sea. The Golden Lion standing on the flying pirate ship laughed proudly. Gia ha 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 ha, Sengoku, Garp, you are not as lucky as Roger. I saw Golden Lion raised his hand. The marine base behind Marineford suddenly cracked, and countless rocks formed a tsunami-like stone lion head towards Marine on the execution square. Sengoku's face was livid. Damn. When did this guy come to Marineford? Garp picked his nose and said, 20 years ago. Sengoku. Lion Majesty. Earth coiling. Golden Lion shouted loudly, and pressed towards the Marines with his terrifying skills that were not inferior to Whitebeard's sea shock. Aokiji put his hands on the ground and made the Ice Age freeze towards Lion Majesty, Earth coiling. However, what Lion Majesty? Earth coiling hit was not water but gravel. Nani, even Aokiji Admiral can't stop the Golden Lion's attack. Is it true that Marine is going to end this time? By the way, we also have Luffy Vice Admiral. Golden Lion Vice Admiral. Golden Lion Vice Admiral. The Marines looked at 4.6 where Luffy was and cheered loudly. Those who didn't know thought it was a victory celebration. Seeing this scene, Luffy rolled his eyes wildly. Is this considered digging a hole for himself? Now that his ace cannon template has expired, Armament Hockey, who attacks in a large area from the air, can't do it himself. Faced with this kind of attack, it seems that only Shenluo Tianjung can solve it, but I just used this skill with Whitebeard's puppet just now, and it seems that using it again is a bit disrespectful to the IQ of Sengoku and others. After much deliberation, it seems that it is more appropriate to leave it to the old man and 3 admirals to deal with it. After all, with their strength, it is not a big problem to smash the mudslide with armament hockey. Just when I was about to implement this perfect paddling plan, suddenly there was a loud shout from Marine. How can Senior Luffy take action in such a small case? I'll do it. Luffy looked at the source of the voice with a dazed expression, and cursed directly. Advertisement Chapter 254 Mysterious Brother Bartolomeo, Thor is coming. Advertisement. How can Senior Luffy take action in such a small case? I'll do it. In the astonished eyes of everyone, a green and transparent barrier directly blocked the attack of Lion Majesty, Earth coiling. Bang bang. A violent explosion came, and the Marine Vice Admirals who were under the attack couldn't help subconsciously blocking them with their hands. However, after a long while, they were shocked to find that the expected attack did not arrive, and the seemingly thin defensive wall remained motionless, obediently blocking the attack that Aokiji hadn't frozen. Senior Luffy, I'm not that good. Bartolomeo, who raised his fingers in strange movements, jumped up and down in Major Marine's uniform with a frenzied expression on his face. Sengoku looked at the green-haired, ruffian-like Marine with a nose ring in astonishment, as this demon fruit power. The mere Major blocked the Golden Lion's attack. At this time, Luffy also looked at this jumping young man with a dazed face. Bartolomeo, born in the town of Rog, was originally the leader of the underworld. Before he saw Luffy die, he smiled and worshipped the miracle saved by the dragon, so he followed Luffy and became the second ship of the Straw Hat fleet of pirates, Captain. Bartolo 14 Mio, as a pirate, is naturally vicious and cruel. After going to sea, he once shelled and set fire to innocent citizens in a certain city, and even spread the images of pirates who were burned and tortured everywhere. He is called the sea that most wants to disappear. Thieves real-time leaderboard N0.1 inches crazy supernova. Luffy wanted to deal with him before passing through Rog Town, but he forgot about this guy because of the award. Later, he remembered that he had already entered the Grand Line and it was not good to go back to him. I thought the plot would change this guy. Just stay in Rog Town honestly and be the boss of his black stick. He should not be going out to sea anymore. It turns out that Naval Headquarters has become a Marine Major now. This surprised Luffy somewhat. After all, the defense of Bartolomeo's barrier fruit is just like a bug. Except for the ability of Luo and Blueno's space-type devil fruit, which can be restrained, any other attack can't break his defense. According to the official introduction, the defense power of the barrier maid is higher than that of Diamond Josie's shiny fruit. You must know that the shiny fruit is a diamond. Kazuki Odin, who left the Roger Pirates after returning from training, slashed with all his strength and didn't even leave a white mark on the barrier. And the same attack was enough to leave an indelible scar on Kaido, who turned into a blue dragon. Such defensive power can naturally block the Golden Lion's attack easily. At this time, Bartolomeo shouted excitedly at Luffy, Senior Luffy. I finally saw the live Senior Luffy. When you were live broadcasting marine martial arts, I swore to follow in your footsteps. I can finally standing in front of you. Sengoku looked at Luffy with a strange face. You know him. Advertisement. The corner of Luffy's mouth twitched. That's right. Bartolomeo's naive character Luffy had a certain understanding in his previous life. In his eyes, Luffy's beauty was even more terrifying than that of the Empress. He didn't expect that now he would turn to the light and become a righteous marine. At this time, the Golden Lion in the sky looked down in a daze, and his attack was actually blocked by a little guy. Golden Lion's face became ugly, and he sent a few slash waves directly below Bartolomeo. Seeing this, Sengoku hurried forward to block him. But Bartolomeo shouted directly, let me do it. I saw him posing with crossed fingers again with both hands, and a dark green barrier appeared above his head. There were several muffled bang bang bangs, and the slash that was enough to split the sea didn't even make a trace of white marks. How can it be? Golden Lion stared wide-eyed at the barrier below. Bartolomeo proudly slapped his A and raised his middle finger at Golden Lion. Sabby, I can't beat you, ha ha ha, plus come and hit me. The Golden Lion in the sky was so angry that he wanted to go down and kill that guy immediately, but after all, it was the Golden Lion with the ambition and courage to roam the world and swallow the world, and it was not a brainless person who drove Roger to a dead end. Golden Lion snorted coldly, I'll deal with you well after I've wiped out your marine minions. He glanced at the Whitebeard pirates struggling in the sea and sneered, it turned out to be such a miserable situation, what about Newgate? Just because you are worthy of being compared with me and Roger. Nani, Ace, who had no love in his life, was furious when he heard this sentence, what are you talking about? I. Bang. Before Ace could finish speaking, he was knocked unconscious by Luffy's punch. FK, this hanging hair is really troublesome. Hey, Bartolomeo. Luffy waved to the little fan. What do you want, Senior Luffy? Bartolomeo ran over excitedly. Luffy gave him a thumbs up. Come and kill the Golden Lion with me. Bartolomeo's eyes lit up suddenly, and Luffy, who had transformed into a beautiful Nanfeng, appeared in his eyes. Senior Luffy is going to fight with me. Advertisement. Senior Luffy, tell me what I should do. Bartolomeo stood in front of Luffy with an excited face and asked excitedly. Oh, this way, you stand up straight, yes, put your hands together, hey, yes, and then use the barrier ability to wrap yourself, yes yes. Perfect. Luffy looked at the sword of Bartolomeo extended from the Dakin sword in Assassin 567, and nodded in satisfaction. Yushi, we're going. Show you the power of my Bartolomeo sword. Luffy flew directly towards Bartolomeo's ankle 200 times. Sengoku et al. D.A. neuropathy. However, the artillery fire from the naval headquarters explosion pulled Sengoku back from his thoughts, and he cursed at Kizaru and Akainu. What are you doing in a daze? Hurry up and shoot down those pirate ships. At this time, everyone was ready to shoot down those affiliated pirates. However, Aokiji frowned and looked at the sky. Is it going to rain? It's raining. What time is it? What's the rain? Akainu looked at Aokiji, who had been paddling since the beginning of the blockade of the bay mouth, and scolded dissatisfiedly. But the sky has been getting darker since Shiki came out just now. It's getting darker and darker, haven't you noticed? Aokiji scratched his head helplessly. It was only at this time that everyone noticed that the sky had been shrouded by extremely black thunderclouds. Yeah, haha. A burst of laughter came from the sky. Gods cannot be offended. You guys who offend the gods are dead. Among Marine, Zoro and Sanji looked up to the sky. Why does it sound familiar to me? Immediately, the two turned their heads and looked at each other in unison, and shouted loudly at the surroundings, find a cover quickly. Everyone looked at the excited two people strangely, before they had time to ask the reason. Thunder snakes surged in the sky. Accept God's sanction. Wan Lei. Advertisement Chapter 255 Enel's First Battle. Stupid Golden Lion. Advertisement. Who? The Marines all looked up to the sky. Zoro and Sanji's expressions changed greatly. It really is this kid. Hey, everyone. Find a cover. It's thundering. Everyone looked at the two of them strangely and asked, thunder? What's so scary about thunder? However, the next moment they knew how outrageously wrong they were. A terrifying thunderbolt more than 10 meters thick descended from the sky, and the first to bear the brunt was the pirate ship under the command of the flying pirates. The sound of thunder roars endlessly. With every horrific thunderstorm, a pirate party fell from the sky and was chopped to pieces. Occasionally, a thunder that Enel could not control fell on Marineford below and the Whitebeard pirates in the sea. Hey, B******************* D big earlobe, you need to control it. Zoro held up the word, Hidao, and cursed frantically at the arc motto in the sky. A thunder snake slashed through Zoro and fell to the ground covered in smoke. Sanji on the side took out a cigarette sympathetically, put it in his mouth and taunted him. Idiot, knowing that he can't control Wan Lei's landing point, he held up a knife to get hacked. Sanji smiled and took out the lighter to light it up. Boom. Sanji also exhaled with smoke all over his body, and the last cigarette turned into ashes. Sanji, Zoro, Sheng. Big earlobe. The B************* D will cut you off sooner or later. CC with flowing green hair on the arc proverbs sat leisurely on the fence and ate pizza and said to Enel, you seem to have hacked one of your own. Yahahaha. Enel waved his hands indifferently, this is God's trial for them. Oh, CC. Nodded indifferently and continued eating her pizza. Luffy, who had just flown into the sky to confront the Golden Lion, was directly struck by the out-of-control Wan Lei. Fortunately, the lightning was useless to him, and Baratomeo's barrier fruits were also solid. Advertisement. On the contrary, Golden Lion is much more miserable. He is already high in the sky, with two famous swords, Sakura-ten and Muku, tied to his feet, and the rudder above his head. It is simply a real lightning rod. Without Enel's control, the thunder in the thundercloud produced in the proverb of the arc greeted Golden Lion desperately. And the Golden Lion is also awesome, relying on its terrifying strength to hide from the thunder that falls from the sky, but it can't dodge it, but it just resists it. Here, let alone being hacked for 10 minutes, it didn't even burn its clothes. Luffy held Baratomeyo and looked at the flying Golden Lion with emotion on his face. As expected of a big pirate who can keep pace with Roger and Whitebeard, he even jumps so smoothly. Senior Luffy. Baratomeo's difficult voice came. Ah, what's the matter? Luffy looked at Bartolomeo in his hand strangely and asked. Well, I'm a little tired, can I put it down for a while? Bartolomeo asked Luffy, sweating profusely. At this time, he has been maintaining the posture of the big sword for more than 10 minutes. In order to show his face in front of the idol, he stiffened his body and dared not move. Oh, sorry, I forgot about you. Luffy scratched his head in embarrassment and put Bartolomeo down, then he looked at the arc in the sky. I didn't expect this kid to come out. Luffy shook his head. Sabaody Archipelago. Luffy slapped his life paper and an unlocked pacifist onto Sky Island with the help of Bear's meatball fruit. Ping left them a message asking CC to apply the laser technology developed by Vegapunk to the lunar robot soldiers. And this is not too simple for a witch who has lived in Lelouch's world for thousands of years. At that time, Enel and Circus C had just repaired the moon base and were preparing to activate the Moon City Burka, and then received a courier from Luffy. Enel naturally didn't dare to neglect God's instructions, and urged Circus C to develop laser weapons as soon as possible. And Circus C lived up to expectations, and immediately understood the so-called laser weapons that Vegapunk has been researching for a long time. After all, the world of Lelouch has already developed to the level of energy weapons and nuclear bombs. From the point of view of Circus Century, what Vegapunk has researched is so far behind that it can't be further behind. In the next few days, Enel woke up the blackout robots at the moon base, and began to modify the body with laser light. Until 2 days ago, Enel couldn't wait to fly towards Luffy with the first batch of mini pacifists. And when he arrived, he found that the flying pirates flying with him in the sky were attacking Luffy. So decisively started to create thunderclouds at a higher place than the flying pirates, and when the savings were full, he directly slashed down with a big move. Advertisement. This is how the current scene came about. At this time, the Golden Lion also noticed Enel in the sky. He looked towards the sky with an ugly face. D***************. Who are you? Yahahaha, I'm the messenger of God. Enel laughed as he gnawed on the apple in his hand with a golden stick. With a dark face, Golden Lion kicked it towards the arc proverbs, lion-thousand slice valley. Countless slash waves cut directly towards the arc in the sky proverbs. Seeing this, Luffy groaned, and grabbed Bartolomeo who had just rested. Here comes the sword. A whoosh appeared in front of Slash instantly, Bartolomeo's shield. Luffy swung Bartolomeo with the barrier open, and all of Golden Lion's slashes were blocked by the barrier in an instant, without causing any waves. Luffy doesn't want the Golden Lion to be destroyed by the arc proverbs. After all, Enel doesn't have armament hockey. Although the attack power is strong and the speed is strong, the defense power is almost zero for this group of hockey powerhouses. They can't block the Golden Lion's attack at all. Of course, it is quite easy to avoid, but the proverb of the arc is not so lucky. So Luffy helped arc block the Golden Lion's slash. At this time, the thunder in the sky was still chopping wildly, and the three flying in the air were instantly enveloped by the thunder. After a burst of crackling, Golden Lion's hair exploded, and a puff of white smoke came out of his mouth. I'm Joe. Qian Nuohao, why are you two okay? Looking at the unharmed Luffy and Bartolomeo, Golden Lion couldn't help but curse. Everyone was struck by lightning, so why didn't you hang yourself up? Luffy touched his nose. He was rubber insulated. Bartolomeo could not be split by the barrier fruit. In the final analysis only the Golden Lion was hacked. Luffy didn't want to explain so much to Golden Lion. He snapped his fingers at Enel in the sky. Kill him. Enel stuffed the apple into his mouth in one gulp. Yes, big brother. Gu. Seeing that they despise him so much, Golden Lion was furious. Little devil. Who do you look down on? I. However, before he finished speaking, he saw a thunderball bigger than Marineford slowly emerging from the thunderclouds in the sky. Golden Lion. Boyle. Lei Ying. Chapter 256 The Real Marine with the Highest Combat Power. Advertisement. A terrifying spherical thundercloud full of lightning descended from the sky. The Golden Lion looked in shock at the ultimate weapon that Li spent years building. As a Logia Devil Fruit with top attack power, Thunder Fruit has reached ultimate under the development of Eli Road. The 200 million volt Thor is not polite to say that it is not inferior to Sengoku's Buddha in terms of attack power. If it weren't for the bug of Luffy, Enel could definitely use this form to fight against any strong admiral level. After all, armament hockey is to increase defense, not immune to attack, and the voltage of 200 million volts is enough to cause fatal damage to anyone, except for the bug Luffy. At this time, the thundercloud created by Enel through the proverbs of the arc contains lightning comparable to natural disasters. The huge size directly makes it impossible for the Golden Lion to dodge. Impossible. How can a human create such a powerful attack? The Golden Lion roared unwillingly, gathered together a dozen islands stolen from East Blue, and ruthlessly rammed directly towards Lei Ying. The terrifying ball lightning directly collided with the island. Enel opened his hands and laughed wildly. Yeah haha. No one can stop my attack except God. The Marines on the ground widened their eyes and looked at the terrifying scene in front of them in shock. The attack in front of them was even more terrifying than the God 670 Luo Tianzhong released by Whitebeard before. Whether it's the islands floating in the sky or the black thunderballs covering the sky, they are all so depressing that it feels like the end of the world is coming. The people in Sabaody looked at this scene of doomsday and natural disaster, and they no longer knew how to describe it. At this time, CP0 numbly took a few photos and passed them to 5 elders. At this time, they have been numbed by this wave after wave of powerful attacks. After all, several weapons comparable to ancient weapon Pluton appeared one after another, which really made him not know how to react. Could it be that the 3 ancient weapons are outdated? Now is the era of the legendary All People's Island of Destruction. Whether it is Heaven Pain Whitebeard, or the flying birds caused by Golden Lion's lion fruit, or the thunder that appeared at the end, or even Luffy's power when he exploded and killed Whitebeard in seconds, can easily destroy an island. Advertisement. This makes CP0s start to doubt life. When did ancient musical instruments become so worthless? The surviving affiliated pirates of the Flying Pirates looked desperately at the huge thunderball hitting the island fiercely. The dazzling white light completely obscured everything. It was the strong light produced by the cluster lightning explosion. Then there was a deafening roar. Boom. Everyone's ears were temporarily blinded by the shock, and then the airbase composed of more than a dozen islands in Nachu was completely blasted into pieces in the white light. The clods of soil smashed towards Marineford and the sea like meteors. The pirate ships that were flying next to them all fell towards the sea. The flying pirates who appeared luxuriously were wiped out by the Sky Island God's big move. Golden Lion's scorched body fell from the sky, an air door opened, and one hand took it away without anyone noticing. The island fragments fell on the sea surface and splashed countless waves, and many members of the evil Whitebeard pirate group died in this round of attack. The originally mighty 50,000 New World pirates are now less than 10,000, and those who can survive to the present are basically the big pirates with a level of more than 50 million. At this time, they looked around dully, they had no hope of being alive. Because just now 43 pirate ships have been wiped out in this explosion. Everyone is waiting for death in despair. Luffy followed the motto of the arc and slowly descended, beasts from the high altitude. Sengoku looked at Luffy standing on the bow with a solemn expression, and Enel behind him stood behind Luffy like a believer. Luffy, who is this? Sengoku asked Luffy, frowning. Ah, my little brother, Enel, a Logia Thunder Fruit Demon capable user. Luffy said to Sengoku with a smile. 3 Admiral looked at Enel in surprise. Logia Thunder Fruit. Advertisement. This is the invincible devil fruit in Logia, both in terms of speed and attack power. It is even inferior to Kizaru's sparkling fruit. Looking at the huge arc behind Enel, they can't imagine how this ship flies. Sengoku was overjoyed when he heard Luffy's words. Good. Good. You are indeed under Luffy the Golden Lion. You just solved such a big problem. Garp laughed loudly when he heard the words, as expected of my grandson. At this time, Garp felt that his life was almost complete. Since the Summit War, the surprises have been continuous. Not only has Luffy gained an unparalleled reputation among Marines, but even the matter of Ace being a pirate has been resolved. And Sengoku looked at Luffy with a complicated expression. As the resourceful general, Sengoku understood Luffy's series of actions clearly, otherwise he would not have the conqueror's haki who dominates the world. Luffy's actions from beginning to end are paving the way for establishing prestige and conquering Marine, and it turns out that what he is doing now is also very successful. Sengoku believed that Luffy raised his arms and shouted at this time, and he might be able to become the bear commander directly. But he can feel Luffy's dislike for pirates, but he is different from his emperor-like justice that dominates the world, and also different from Akainu's absolute justice. It's more like a kind of haki who only respects me, but the character is biased towards the good side. Sengoku didn't know that Luffy's current personality was called chivalrous spirit in his previous life. A great chivalrous man serves the country and the people. Being poor cares themselves, being wealthy cares the world. When Luffy was weak, he was always thinking about how to live happily in the pirate world. If he could do something good along the way, he would do it conveniently. With the increase of Luffy's strength and influence, the heroic feat of leaving his mark on the world of pirates gradually grew in his heart, so Luffy has been unconsciously making some plans for the future along the way. At this time, Luffy has completely stood at the top of the pirate time. Although there is still a lot of hard power, it is no surprise that in the hearts of other major forces in the world, Luffy has completely surpassed the 3 admirals and is comparable to Whitebeard. The real Marine's highest combat power. Golden Lion Luffy. Chapter 256 ending. Gone Blackbeard. Advertisement. At this time, except for the execution platform, Marineford has basically become ruins. After Whitebeard, Pen's 6 paths, and Golden Lion's repeated toss, it is already a miracle that the island sank. At this time, Luffy returned to the intact seat of the execution platform again and sat down. Victory and Garp also returned to the execution platform and stood on both sides. Akainu gave a cold snort, and walked back to the execution platform. At this time, his seat was lost somewhere. Aokiji and Kizaru glanced at each other and returned to their respective positions with a swish. Enel hovered directly above the execution platform in the arc proverb. Titan Vice Admiral and Marine Vice Admiral returned to their respective positions, and all the pirates in the sea were desperately caught. This time no one had a problem with Luffy appearing on the scaffold. Report that Luffy Vice Admiral, Marshal Sengoku, and the captains of the Whitebeard pirates are not among the fallen pirates below. A Marine colonel anxiously ran up to the execution platform to report. Nani? Sengoku's face changed when he heard the words, how could that be? There are many capable people among those captains, let's see if they sank to the bottom of the sea. Yes. The colonel quickly saluted and ran down. Don't worry too much, those guys can't make any big waves without Whitebeard. Luffy looked at one of the captured pirates and said lightly. Those are hundreds of millions of big pirates. Sengoku said to Luffy dissatisfied. Without Whitebeard's protection, how dare they show their faces? Luffy said with a sneer on his face. Bobbeard's enemies are much more than just one. Sengoku frowned when he heard the words, and finally nodded. It is true that the tree fell and the hosen scattered, especially the pirates. Once Whitebeard died, these guys living under Whitebeard's protection basically couldn't become a big climate. At this time, Luffy frowned, and his fingers unconsciously tapped the armrest of the seat to make a thumping sound. Sengoku asked Luffy strangely, what's wrong? Advertisement. Luffy frowned and thought. A guy who should have appeared, but he didn't. Sengoku asked strangely, who? Blackbeard. Luffy said, eyes narrowing. Sure enough, his shot caused the butterfly effect again. When Luffy went to impel down to escort the prisoners, he specifically asked to go to the Eternal Hell on level 6 to connect to the portal of the level 6 cell and make it easier for Blueno to invade. And after he went out, Luffy controlled Blueno to return to level 6. And Luffy's purpose is to take the legendary revolutionary army monster King Ivankov and Lightning who are located on the disappearing 5.5th floor, as well as the troll army led by them. If you have a chance, just clear out the prisoners on the 6th floor of Eternal Hell. You must know that only the 3rd floor detains vicious prisoners with a bounty of over 50 million, and all those who can be held on the 6th floor are cruel, brutal, inhuman and vicious criminals. And the most important thing is that these damned prisoners are imprisoned in cages without any punishment, without the spikes of Crimson Hell, without the vicious dogs of Wild Beast Hell, without the pain of Starvation Hell, and without the effects of Blazing Hell and Ice Hell. Hot and cold. These prisoners who committed the most serious crimes were imprisoned comfortably without any punishment. Even Shiryu, the deputy warden, was imprisoned for killing prisoners. You must know that CP9 has the privilege of killing even civilians at will, and as the deputy warden of Impel Down, murderous prisoners are all sent to death row. The only possibility left is that the level 6 prisoners have other very important functions, so important that even the deputy prison warden who is impelled down is not allowed to kill at will. And thinking of the biological weapon pacifists developed by the world government Vegapunk, there is naturally only one reason why this group of level 6 prisoners are so protected, and that is to be used by the world government to manufacture pacifists or develop weapons. For Luffy, these prisoners are naturally just a time bomb. However, Luffy has a little underestimated those prisoners after all, and those cannon fodder that have not been missed in the original book can naturally be easily killed by Luffy. But like those legendary powerhouses, Pain, who was trained with the unnatural CP9 at the time, had almost no way to kill them, and finally Luffy gave up. Because he knew that among the prisoners on level 6, except for the bosses in the theater version, only a few members of the Blackbeard pirates could get out alive. Luffy simply gave up trying to scare the snake away, and chose to rescue the Revolutionary Army. After all, in Luffy's opinion at the time, the people who were cheaper than his father were his own. Asking for flowers. And if he wants to separate Marine from the world government, the financial support of the kingdom successfully liberated by the Revolutionary Army is definitely indispensable. Advertisement. After all, a regime cannot survive on purely violent institutions. Luffy, the prisoner in eternal hell, was left to Blackbeard because he knew that Blackbeard's target was Whitebeard's shock fruit. But it was less than an hour before the execution, Marineford was beaten to pieces, Luffy didn't see Blackbeard, and Luffy's face became ugly. He knew that there was a high probability that Blackbeard would slip right through Enies Lobby's door of justice right now. But Sengoku didn't know this, he frowned and looked around and nodded. Indeed, Blackbeard didn't come to join the battle even though he was called by the world government. Sure enough, pirates are trash that doesn't keep their promises. Join the war. Luffy sneered, I'm afraid my hometown will be stolen. Luffy knew that with the ability of Blackbeard's dark fruit, although he was instantly killed by Magellan, as a Logia demon fruit power, although he could not elementalize, he could devour all damage. Given enough time for Blackbeard's devil fruit to absorb Magellan's poison. Absolute evil, represented by the D of Blackbeard Marshal D Teach, is definitely not something a Magellan can stop. Sengoku frowned when he heard this, and originally wanted to continue asking. But at this time, the hour hand has already begun to move towards the time of execution at 12 o'clock in the noon. The few remaining live phone bugs all shot on the execution platform. In the largest war in history initiated by Marine finally won a big victory under the fall of two legendary pirates, Whitebeard and Golden Lion. At this moment, Luffy slowly walked towards the center of the execution platform, and Sengoku handed Luffy the telephone bug for loudspeaker. Garp looked at his old buddy and grinned. Luffy unceremoniously took the phone, and the bug stood in the center of the world where the times had changed. The public execution is about to begin. Marine victory. However, with Chapter 257, at noon, the execution begins. Advertisement. The eyes of the world are on Luffy. Luffy stood in front of the execution platform with a megaphone bug in hand, his cloak whistling with the wind blowing from the empty Marineford. Marine wins. But our victory is just the beginning. As long as there are powerful evil forces on the sea, we Marine will do our best to expel them. In the name of absolute justice. One Piece. Everything in this world. What a boring dream. What a sacrifice, what grief and hatred that stuff has caused. The so-called symbol of freedom and will. What a joke. It's nothing but the self-paralysis of a group of greedy freelancers. Explore the world. Recognize the world. Subvert the world. I will make all the pirates in this world cease to exist. I will personally end this era of great pirates. Whitebeard, Golden Lion is just the beginning. Marines, give me 137, and listen. From today on, we will believe in the purest justice, unhindered by any hypocrisy. Whether it's Marine, officials, nobles, or world government, even celestial dragons. The Emperor breaks the law and commits the same crime as the common people. We must thoroughly implement the justice of this world. Carry out your own beliefs, even sacrifice yourself, even if you step on the corpses of your companions, you must continue to move forward. We are the bastion of peace in the era of pirates. Tremble, despair, pirates of the new world. I, Monkey D. Luffy, once again swear that starting tomorrow, the Marine will enter the new world, regain the peace that belongs to the people, and the world will once again usher in a great dawn. Now, the execution begins. Click. The second hand points to 12 o'clock at noon, and the executioner raises the knife in his hand. At the same time, countless Burka resurrected robot warriors reached out to the remaining pirates of the Whitebeard pirates. The torture knife falls along with the laser light. More than 50,000 pirates in the entire Whitebeard pirate group were completely wiped out. Marineford and the Sabaody archipelago fell into dead silence. Quote. Advertisement. A Marine groaned in disbelief, and then the entire naval headquarters exploded as if dynamite had been ignited. Win. Victory. It's over. It's Marines' victory. The collective cheers of 100,000 people were deafening, and the overwhelming sound waves shocked everyone who watched the live broadcast. The reporters of Sabaody archipelago didn't know how many times they dropped their pens on the ground. Unlike the cheers of Marines' family members, the reporters' intuition immediately discovered the key points in Luffy's declaration. That is not only a challenge to the New World Four Emperors, but also a challenge to the absolute authority of the world government and the world's noble Kailong people. The Emperor breaks the law and the common people are the same crime. That is to say, Luffy directly denies the privilege of being the celestial dragons of the world nobles and the world government CP organization. Luffy wants Marine to be the only legal violent institution in the whole world. It's going to change. It was a phrase that kept echoing in the minds of journalists. Doflamingo stared at Luffy in disbelief. How dare he say such arrogant remarks, and even challenge the supremacy of Kailong people. The most important thing is that TM's 5 elders just promised themselves to restore the status of celestial dragons after Summit War. In the end, this guy came directly to an emperor who broke the law and committed the same crime as the common people. So what the FK is the point of being celestial dragons? Doflamingo has no doubts about the authenticity of what Luffy said, because he saw the enthusiasm of the 100,000 marine elites below looking at Luffy. At this time, under the blessing of the title of, I am God, Luffy does not hesitate to worship even if it is to let them commit suicide collectively. And the lowest of the 100,000 elites are all ensign-level generals. This means that all marines below the first level will be wiped out by Luffy. When they return to their respective bases, the soldiers under their command will completely become Luffy's direct subordinates. Except for the marine executives, Monkey D. Luffy has the final say on the entire marine. Hancock looked at Luffy's torn clothes with admiration on his face. Husband is the best. Aokiji looked up at Luffy and scratched his head. Well, he is also a handsome man. Kizaru's attention is on those Sky Island moon robots. It's scary. He discovered that the attacks from these out-of-nowhere robots were laser beams that Vegapunk had been studying the pacifists he had been studying for so long. And judging by the quantity, the cost is much cheaper than that of the pacifists. Advertisement. Akainu on the side was silently smoking a cigar. He was the most unlucky person in this Summit War. He seemed to be the one who was beaten every time. The two guys next to him were paddling the whole time, and he was at the forefront. Luffy, who was originally the son of the world's #1 criminal, was quite unpopular. As a result, this time he had to deny that Luffy's behavior in the Summit War really gave Marine a perfect victory. And Luffy's last statement made his blood boil even after hearing it, and absolute justice is exactly what he dreamed of. But the sentence that the Emperor violated the law and the common people are the same crime filled him with contradictions. He who believes in absolute justice naturally feels that this is the absolute justice in his heart. But the code name Akainu also means the stupid loyalty in his character. In his view, the world government should be absolute. As a subordinate of the world government, even if the order is disgusting, he should obey it, because he is also a cold-blooded soldier. Obedience was in his blood, which is why he was so humiliated by the 5 elders that he still had to do as he was told. And Luffy's remarks, which he almost called his own, made him not know how to deal with the fierce conflict of values. Sengoku stands behind with Garp. Sengoku looked at the high-spirited Luffy with a complicated face. Luffy did what he wanted to do most but couldn't do, because he knew that even if he was in the position of Marine Marshal, the status of the world government is still higher than himself in the hearts of Marines. If it was persecuted, the Marine below might rebel with him. But if they take the initiative to rebel, the Marine below will only kill him as a traitor. In addition, Marine has no source of income, and all expenses are allocated by the world government. This also caused Garp to be unscrupulous within the scope of the rules, but unable to fully implement the justice in his heart. However, now Luffy directly broke this deadlock with a wave of show operations relying on faith. Collect all the grassroots management of the entire Marine system in one fell swoop, which gives Marine 4.6 an independent foundation. Sengoku, who is the resourceful general, instantly understood that the next step is to consider the issue of economic expenditure. I believe that in the coming days, the world government will crazily reduce Marine's military expenditure to achieve the purpose of restraining Marine. But it won't be a complete turnaround. After all, if Marine is forced to turn against him, it will be devastating to the world government. You raised a good grandson, Garp. Sengoku looked at Luffy's back and said helplessly to Garp. Wow, ha ha ha, right, as expected of my grandson. Garp laughed excitedly. At this moment, a Marine ran up to the execution platform eagerly. Marshal Sengoku is not good. Hurry up, what a shame. Sengoku frowned and scolded. What's wrong? Tell me. Red hair. The 4 Emperor's red hair pirates have appeared at the port. Chapter 258. How about selling me some face? Advertisement. Extra account. Hurry up and issue an extra account. Now broadcast an urgent report. Following the death of Whitebeard, the Golden Lion has also died in battle. The Whitebeard pirates are wiped out. All prisoners have been executed. War. It's over. The Whitebeard pirates and the Golden Lion pirates are ******ed. I can finally live a stable life. Luffy Vice Admiral's final speech, to wipe out all the pirates. When will that day come? Trust Luffy Vice Admiral, that day is sure to come soon. Reporters from the Sabaody archipelago spread the battle reports throughout the world. However, just when everyone thought the matter was over and prepared to celebrate, Marineford once again ushered in a group of uninvited guests. Luffy Vice Admiral, Marshal Sengoku. The ship of the 4 Emperors Red Shanks has been spotted in port. A colonel reported anxiously to Luffy, Sengoku and others. Red hair. Sengoku was taken aback. It is impossible for Sengoku, who is the marshal of the 4 Emperors, not to know. The red-haired Shanks is a very special existence among the 4 Emperors who was born mysteriously and inherited the character of Roger. He became the key to maintain the balance between the world government and the pirates. Among the 4 emperors, he is the Sea Emperor who pays the most attention to the balance of the sea. His character of not causing trouble and never being afraid of trouble, coupled with the terrifying conqueror's haki, makes him the only 4 emperor of the new era who was separated from other 4 emperors. Luffy turned around and walked towards the port with a smile. Shanks, haven't seen you in 10 years. I don't know what kind of expression he has now. Luffy Vice Admiral, don't we need to fight? Colonel Marine asked anxiously. Don't worry, no need, the redhead is probably here to stop the war, but it's obvious he's late. Luffy disappeared with a whoosh. Hey, wait. Sengoku stretched out his hand behind him, but Luffy was no longer visible. Wahaha, I don't know how the B************ D who tricked my grandson into being a pirate will react when he sees Luffy. Garp laughed as he watched Luffy leave. Advertisement. At this time on the port, Red Hair Pirates Shanks led a group of cadres off the pirate ship one by one, and the terrifying momentum caused the marines on the edge of the port to back away. Do me a favor. The battle is over. Shanks, the red-haired pirates who prevented Kaido from encroaching on Whitebeard's territory, led the cadres to speak handsomely to the panicked marine. If the fight continues like this, it will only increase the losses of the 2 armies without limit. If there are still guys who are not enough, come on. Let us accompany you. The red hair drew out the western knife and pointed to the ground and said to the marines who were waiting in line. Marine. What is he saying? Didn't he come to fight us? Isn't the battle over long ago? Continue to fight. Do you still want to fight with them? Hear Shang whispering. The people of Red Hair Pirates also seem to find that something is wrong. This group of marines doesn't seem to be fighting at all. The one over there is even gnawing on the chicken legs. At this time, a figure with a big knife on his back walked past the red hair and marine. You're late, idiot. Hawkeye jumped down from the harbor with no expression on his face, and left Marineford in his coffin-like boat. Shanks was stunned. At this moment, a pleasantly surprised voice suddenly reached Shanks' ears. Yo, Shanks, long time no see. Shanks looked up and saw Luffy walking towards him with a smile. He smiled and waved at the nervous soldiers. Don't get excited, acquaintances, these are all acquaintances, there is nothing for you. Luffy Vice Admiral. The Marines looked at Luffy enthusiastically, saluted, and left the scene in unison, without showing any doubts because of Luffy's making out with the redhead. Advertisement. Everyone in the Red Hair Pirates looked at the little boy who had been fighting together 10 years ago in bewilderment, but at this moment they felt like they were facing Shanks. Shanks looked at Luffy with doubts on his face. Ordinarily, Sengoku should come to find him in person. After all, it is not a good thing for Marine that there is another 4 emperors in such an important war. It turned out that what I saw was Luffy. It's only been a day. Why do I feel that I can't understand this world anymore? Luffy, where's the person in charge of your marine? Shanks knew that this was not the time to worry about this, the most important thing now was to find the bosses of both sides to end the war. After all, the disappearance of one of the 4 emperors represents total chaos at sea, and Shanks is here for that. The person in charge. Luffy put on a wicked smile. I am. Huh. Shanks looked at Luffy in astonishment, and then said with a serious face, don't be kidding, I'm serious. Luffy also put away her smile, and said lightly to Shanks, do I seem to be joking with you? Shanks shrank his pupils, and carefully looked at the new era in which he bet his arm. He was shocked to find that the Marines around him seemed to take Luffy's wild words for granted. Impossible. The red-haired was shocked in his heart. He was obviously only a vice admiral, and even 670 was under the care of Garp. How could such a World War-level war be commanded by Luffy? But that's exactly what's happening now. The red hair suddenly thought of something, his eyes lit up. The battlefield must be too dangerous. Garp specifically asked him to be in charge of peripheral security. And both Marine and pirates are fighting internally. Shanks suddenly realized. He smiled and said to Luffy, since you are the person in charge, how about selling my face? Take me inside. The surrounding Marines suddenly changed their expressions. Are you kidding me? How can pirates enter and exit our naval headquarters at will? Seeing this, Shanks immediately confirmed his guess, and there must be a fierce battle going on inside. Luffy looked at Shanks with a strange expression and said, okay, since Shanks said it, it must be fine, come with me. Shanks nodded, and as expected, he led a group of red hair pirates and walked behind Luffy through the defensive wall of the port towards Marineford. Old boss, Laji Lu, who followed Luffy up the city wall, suddenly pointed to the surrounded Crescent Bay and said in shock. Huh. The redhead looked in the direction Laji Lu was pointing at, his pupils shrank suddenly, and a horrified look appeared on his face. Chapter 259 Red Hair. Come help me Marine. Advertisement. At this time, the blood in Crescent Bay is soaked red. The blood of tens of thousands of pirates dyed the entire inner bay red. Countless corpses are floating in the sea, and Marines wearing protective clothing are salvaging them to prevent the plague. Shanks looked at the scene in shock, his eyes showed disbelief, and he had an extremely ominous premonition in his heart. Luffy, where is the Whitebeard pirates? Luffy turned his head harmlessly and laughed. Ah, they're all dead. The red-haired face suddenly turned ugly. He thought of all kinds of tragic situations, but he never thought of the Whitebeard pirates being wiped out. No way. That's Whitebeard, Shanks murmured in a low voice, and then they climbed up the highest city wall, and the tragic ruins of Marineford were completely exposed in front of the red-hair pirates. How tragic this is. The redhead looked in shock at Marineford who could not find a good brick. Under the Golden Lion's lion fruit ability, except for the execution platform at the last port, the rest were all in lion majesty, earth coiling submerged by mudslides under the attack. However, Shanks looked into the bay with a dazed look on his face, because he found that although there were many pirate corpses, Marine's damage was very little, only sporadic broken corpses. Compared with the destruction of the Whitebeard pirate group, this is no longer victory was so easy. What happened to cause Zan to have such a one-sided massacre? Joe Bay asked. Soon the red hair pirates were led by Luffy to Sengoku and others. Sengoku, Garp, and 3 admirals looked at Shanks in unison. Shanks was full of MMPs when he saw this. Why the hell did he feel like no one was injured? Is Whitebeard a piece of paper? What the hell are you here for as one of the 4 emperors? Sengoku asked Shanks with a cold snort. Shanks looked embarrassed. I'm here to mediate. But he can't say anything now. The Whitebeard pirates have no hair left. What a fart. Hey, Mr. Sengoku, don't scare people. Shanks is my buddy. This time he is here to help our marine. Luffy leaned forward and laughed. Once Whitebeard is dead, all his sites belong to our marine, but it will take time for us to actually bring those sites under our command. Isn't this Shanks coming? He is in order to help us resist the other 4 emperors who seized the territory with us. You are so good. Sengoku looked at the redhead strangely. You would be so kind. Shanks looked at Luffy in bewilderment. When did he say that? At this time, before the others spoke, Akainu looked at the redhead with an unkind expression, relying on pirates to defend against the 4 emperors. That is a disgrace to our marine. According to me, take down all these pirates now and wipe out the 2 emperors. How nice to be named 4 emperors. Advertisement. Beckman, Usopp and others tensed up instantly and put their hands on their weapons. Sengoku and Luffy turned their heads to look at the mentally handicapped speechless, with no brains at all. Just Whitebeard's territory marine needs a long time to digest, let alone New World losing 4 emperors at the same time. The order of the New World may collapse in an instant. They are marines to save the people under the brutal rule, and they are not ruins destroyed by pirates. So the next thing Marine has to do is to digest the territory left by Whitebeard after his death, instead of continuing to fight the rest of the 4 emperors. Where there are people, there will be disputes. Marine should become a law enforcement agency to resolve disputes. If it is only to eliminate pirates, pirates will still breed again in places that are out of control. What's so good about fighting and killing? Harmony is the last word, right? Seeing the nervous expressions of the red hair pirates, Luffy smoothed things over with a smile. Luffy doesn't intend to be the kind of tyrant who travels over here and kills anyone who refuses to obey. Then he will be no different from celestial dragons. Restoring the order of the pirate world is not a play, unless Luffy can improve his strength to the point of a god with thousands of thoughts. Otherwise, it is impossible to correct the distorted world view of pirate world by one person alone. The cultivation of power is indispensable, and political diplomacy is also inevitable. Because he knows that he can't completely kill the root of human evil, he can only suppress it in the category of reason. After all, the world is not purely black and white, but also gray in the cracks, and the red-haired Shanks happens to be very suitable for that touch of gray, which is why 5 elders is willing to give the red hair to face. But Akainu, who believes in absolute justice, doesn't think so. In his opinion, Marine is Marine, which is absolute justice, and no evil is allowed. Although he will also be at the mercy of the world government, he just doesn't have the strength to carry out his own just justice. And now he is the same way. He knows that since Luffy has spoken, he will definitely not be able to fight with the red hair. Seeing Shanks' surprised eyes, he turned his head angrily and left here, out of sight and out of mind. That such a strong Akainu will listen to the dissuasion of Luffy, a vice admiral. Shanks looked confused. Luffy then put his arms around Shanks' neck. Let's go, let's discuss how to maintain world peace. The people on both sides of Sengoku and Shanks looked sore. What the hell are you talking to one of the biggest crime bosses in the world about how to make the world peaceful? Advertisement. However, as far as the current situation is concerned, neither side seems to have a better choice. Shanks' current purpose is to maintain order at sea. Marine needs time to digest the out-of-control territory of the Whitebeard pirates. Then the 2 sides held a high-level meeting for up to 6 hours in the ruins of Marineford. No one knows what kind of treaty the 2 sides made. Many Marine soldiers recalled that when the red hair left, their faces were not so pretty. In the following time, the Marines gathered from all over the place all started to return to their branches. The Marines of this department gathered in Sabaody Archipelago to join their families, waiting for the reconstruction of naval headquarters. Luffy took Hancock, Robin, Circus C, and others to play around the Sabaody Archipelago to ease the discomfort caused by the war. After all, even the heinous pirates are human lives in the final analysis. If 10 weak-willed people would have suffered from post-war traumatic stress syndrome. So during this period of time, Luffy has been, taking all the girls to relax on the Sabaody Archipelago. Until a week later at noon. A Marine soldier finds Luffy playing poker. Report Luffy Vice Admiral. 2 unknown persons appeared outside the base looking for you. Unknown person. Luffy looked at the soldier strangely. Yes, it's a middle-aged uncle with a little girl around 6 years old. The soldier hurriedly reported to Luffy. Wong Bo. A 3. You lose. Ha ha ha. Luffy slammed the cards on the table with a snap. Come on, 1 for each. Don't play tricks. With their faces covered in notes, Robin and Circus C helplessly put a note on their faces. Did they say what it's called? Luffy asked the soldier, taking a big sip of the juice on the table by the way. The soldier touched his head and said, it seems to be called Kanjuro and Hiyori. Luffy squirted the juice all over Robin, Circus Seats' note-covered face with a puff. Chapter 260 The Changed Future, Kazuki Hiyori Comes. Advertisement. Luffy saw the two people standing in front of her with a dazed look on their faces. He rubbed his brows vigorously, and said to the red-haired undercover and the little loli in front of him, wait, let me have a wisp. You mean, it was me who brought Hiyori and Momonosuke to appear in front of your wife Kazuki, and asked her to send Hiyori to Sabaody Archipelago to find me after 18 years. And then left Momonosuke behind. Quote. Luffy looked at Kanjuro with a respectful face and Hiyori who hid behind Kanjuro and watched him secretly with a headache. Shouldn't it be that Momonosuke's damn thing was sent by Mrs. Shi 20 years later? In order to preserve the blood of the Kazuki clan, the blood of Yamato is enough. This person who only knows how to cry for his father and mother to hold him back all the time, is really going to become the master of Wano Kuni, and he is definitely a waste like the Kailong people. So Luffy is ready to throw this guy on a civilian island to fend for himself. But now standing in front of Luffy is Kazuki Hiyori from time travel and the traitor Kanjuro, or did he let Mrs. Shi send them over to 117? This is G hell. Suddenly, a flash of light flashed in Luffy's mind. My grass. Could it be the time-traveling template that I drew, right? Luffy's eyes light up when he thinks of this. There's nothing wrong with it. Momonosuke's good for nothing who puts on the airs of a daimyo and looks at his own woman every day. If Luffy doesn't kill him, it's considered a great mercy, and if he helps him, there must be no way to help him. And with Luffy's current strength. 2 years later, the grass on Kaido's grave is estimated to be several meters long, so there is still a ball for a piece of trash like Momonosuke to rob him of the fruits of his labor. If you happen to draw a template that can go back to the past, with your G nature, you will definitely throw Momonosuke back, and then let Mrs. Shi send Hiyori over. This is not much better than killing Momonosuke. Let this good-for-nothing experience the life of his sister Hiyori in the enemy's base camp, begging for mercy and laughing at the enemy. This is what a son of a famous name should do. Thinking of this, Luffy immediately felt relieved. He smiled and said to Hiyori, little sister, don't be afraid, big brother is a good guy. Advertisement. BECB Robin, Circus C. And others beside him looked at Luffy speechlessly. No matter how they looked like a big bad wolf seeing Little Red Riding Hood. With tears in his eyes, Hiyori pointed his head at Luffy and asked, Big brother will help mom beat the bad guys, right? Luffy nodded without hesitation. Of course, isn't it Kaido? The big brother just killed the big villain Whitebeard. Kanjuro, who just came from time travel 18 years ago, shrank his pupils. Whitebeard is dead. You must know that in the era he lived in, Kaido was not yet the 4 emperors, but just a pirate who fought half a caddy with Moria. At best, he was at the same level as the 4 emperors' cadres. And Whitebeard has become a famous pirate in the sea, a big pirate of the same level as One Piece King Roger. After all, when Whitebeard was the captain of the Rocks Pirates, Kaido was just a trainee crew member. However, the man in front of him actually said that he killed Whitebeard, which made Kanjuro's hair stand on end. At this time, Hiyori looked at Luffy suspiciously. If it wasn't for the grown-up self who resembled his mother at the side of this man, he would not be willing to believe this guy who doesn't look like a good person anyway. Luffy laughed and hugged Xiaorahei, rubbing on her cute face. This is Wano Kuni's #1 beauty in the future, and now she delivered it to her door. Hiyori was so scared by Luffy that she burst into tears, but thinking of her mother's instructions before she left, she tried her best not to cry. She knew that this was the one who could save Wano Kuni. Seeing this, Kanjuro stretched out his hand to say something. Luffy narrowed his eyes and sharpened, and a terrifying Conqueror's Haki rushed towards Kanjuro. Kanjuro instantly took a few steps back in fright. Conqueror's Haki, so strong. Luffy put Hiyori on his neck. Let's go. Find Frankie and see if the coating is finished. It's time to go to the new world. Xiao Hiyori on the side finally recovered a little from the fear of Odin Castle being burned, holding Luffy's head and laughing as if flying on an airplane. Luffy chuckled. This is not much better than Momonosuke's cheating thing. At this time, Marineford. Sengoku looked at the horrible naval headquarters and wondered what he was thinking. Marshal Sengoku. A vice admiral hurried over. The Warden Magellan is awake. Advertisement. Really? How's it going? Sengoku asked Vice Admiral with a frown. Since Luffy said Blackbeard at the time, he had a bad premonition in his heart. Just woke up from a serious injury. He said that it was because of the defection of the Deputy Warden Shiryu Rain that he caused such a serious injury, and now the medical team is undergoing intensive treatment. Director Magellan has been thinking about taking responsibility, that is, he is seriously injured and unable to move. If he can act, given his current mental state, he will probably die as an apology. Sengoku's face darkened. Take care of him. He must not be allowed to do such a stupid thing. What happened in the prison? Judging from the results, the 6 underground floors of Impel Down suffered the most damage, which is simply appalling. Except for some prisoners who have disappeared, there are only dead households left in the whole area. Nani? Sengoku's face was livid. Are you saying that he took away the most elite members from the most vicious criminals in the world government? Yes. Among the criminals whose bodies were not found were San Juan the Wolf, Abalo Pizarro, Bacchus Choate, and Catalina Dupont, but also Berndy Valdo, Red Earl, Bullet Weight for some heavyweight prisoners. Damn Blackbeard. Sengoku smashed the ground with one punch. Even if criminals from the 6th level of the underground escape into a certain country, it may bring great danger to people. Quickly confirm the number and names, and immediately issue a wanted order to the whole world. But, Vice Admiral hesitated to speak to Sengoku. What's wrong? Sengoku looked at Vice Admiral strangely. Vice Admiral said to Sengoku with a hesitant face, the world government ordered us to conceal the incident on the 6th basement floor, saying that if we knew that the Shichibukai recruited by the government caused such a big incident, it would affect the credibility of the government. Sengoku snarled after listening to the blue veins exposed, what are you kidding? Let them go. Vice Admiral had no choice but to say. They said that if Marine insists on releasing it, the economy is a bit tight recently, and I'm afraid they can't offer too high bounty to these criminals. Boom. With a loud noise, the enraged Sengoku directly smashed a big hole in the ground. Those bloody bastards. Chapter 261 Sengoku, Temporary Navigator, stuck by money. Advertisement. Lack of money. Luffy looked at the call bug from Sengoku with a speechless expression. What do you want me to do when you are short of money? You are the Marine Marshal, right? Shut up. The phone bug imitated Sengoku's frantic voice. It's not your kids' bold words, now you are tearing your face with the world government, they have already started to limit our military spending. Do you know, most of Marine's economic income comes from the celestial dragons, that bunch of rubbish. Cough. The world's nobles. Ah, what trouble. Luffy lay on the melee and yawned, looking at the dark water outside. At this time, he was on his way to the Fishman Island. How about this, why don't you dismantle Enel's ark? His entire ship is made of gold, not to mention offering rewards, just making do with it is probably enough to cover the entire Marine's expenses for a year. W. Sengoku, are you an idiot? Do you know how intimidating an airship is to our Marine? Not only is it the means of transportation that connects us to Sky Island, but it also plays an invaluable role in many raids. You actually want to dismantle him. Sengoku was so angry that he wanted to rush over and give him 2 slaps right now. Yawn, didn't you say you were short of money? Luffy yawned hee and laughed. Sengoku. Plus pan. Forget it, it's useless to ask you AB asterisk 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 D, such AB asterisk 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 D. Said Sengoku wanted to hang up the phone. Luffy quickly stopped Sengoku. Hey, don't be angry, just kidding, don't you just want the group of people who escaped from the eternal hell to attract everyone's attention, whoever said that the reward order must be exchanged? Except for how many Marines are capable of capturing those guys on level 6. Pirates can do it, and they dare to come to Marine base to receive rewards. Thinking must be active, jump out of the frame, don't be limited, the pattern, we have to open the pattern, so who stipulates that you must have money before issuing a reward order? We fell out with the government. It's an internal matter. The people don't know it. Send out the reward first. If there is any exchange, it will be over if the world government is used as a scapegoat. Anyway, our purpose is to let those the kingdom valued this group of prisoners. Advertisement. Sengoku was taken aback when he heard the words, as if what he said did make sense. Sengoku nodded helplessly and said, that's fine, do it first this time, but this is definitely not a long-term solution. If there are too many such empty checks, the reward order will become a joke. Luffy sneered. Pirate hunters are superfluous. If catching pirates still needs to rely on those guys who are blind to money, then what's the use of us Marine? Do you know what makes the most money? Luffy squinted and said to Sengoku, the real profitable business is written on the criminal law. Sengoku's face changed when he heard this. What do you want to do? If you do something you shouldn't do, your grandfather will not let you go. Surely I can't do anything illegal. I'm a good man, a hero to the people, just kidding, first just help Marine solve problems. Luffy laughed and hung up the phone. Luffy's eyes became sharper, with a sinister smile on his face. Do you really think I can't get money? Arms are the most profitable business in any world. Celestial dragons. Even if UF asterisk 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 G become Jesus, Lousy will crucify you. Doflamingo. At this moment, a small head on the deck looked at Luffy's ferocious expression, and screamed and ran to hide behind a beautiful dark blue-haired lieutenant colonel in shorts and a blue cape. Luffy Vice Admiral, are you scaring Hiyori again? The beautiful lieutenant colonel saluted Luffy respectfully. No, I'm trying to think about how to solve the current dilemma that our Marine is facing. Luffy looked at Shaori and laughed. Would you like to have a drink with me, Lieutenant Colonel Ain? That's right, the beauty in front of her is none other than Ian, the former Marine Admiral Zephyr's disciple. Originally, Luffy took Sanji and Usopp with the intention of throwing them to Zephyr for training. After all, when it comes to being a teacher, Zephyr is the well-deserved first person in the pirate world, and Rayleigh is not even worthy of carrying shoes with him. Zephyr has single-handedly supported the Marine executives of an era, from the 3 admirals to the Marine Vice Admiral, all the Marine affairs in the chicken, monkey, and dog period were cultivated by this talent. The Admiral of Headquarters, the highest combat power of the former world government, was called Black Arm Zephyr because of the powerful armament hockey. He fought countless pirates in his life, but never killed any enemy, so he was called Don't Kill. Naval Headquarters former Admiral. Advertisement. Asking for flowers. As a result, he was retaliated by the pirates, and his wife and children died tragically. However, even under such circumstances, he was unwilling to kill the pirates. He chose to train heroes for Marine behind the scenes. After the Marine elite. He was attacked by Whitebeard too. The training ship he was leading was attacked by pirates. All his beloved students except Ain and Bins were killed, and his right arm was also severely injured. Since then, Zephyr has completely let go of his benevolence to pirates and formed pirate guerrillas to hunt pirates. MNMM. At this time, he has not lost hope in Marine, and Luffy's declaration brought tears to his eyes. When he received a contact from Garp saying that Luffy wanted him to help lead the crew, he rushed back to Sabaody Archipelago from New World, accepted Sanji and Usopp. And when he heard that Luffy's navigator was sent to study by him, he directly ordered Ain, who also became a fangirl, to be Luffy's temporary navigator. That's why Ain appears here. And the reason why Hiyori is so attached to Ain is because of her retrograde fruit ability. She can turn Robin and others into children to play with Hiyori. At this time, Ain blushed when he heard Luffy's invitation, and saluted him. Luffy Vice Admiral, I'll forget it, I don't know how to drink. Luffy shook his head regretfully and muttered, it's because you can't drink that I asked you to drink. If you can drink, I won't look for you. Ain's face turned red when he heard this, as if he remembered something. He quickly picked up Rehei and walked towards the lawn of Mei Li. I'll take Rehei to play first. Khalifa stepped forward with glasses. You are sexual harassment. Seeing this, Luffy rolled his eyes. Hi, you still. Before Luffy finished speaking, Khalifa handed over a stack of documents and a record pointer and said, the documents and permanent pointer of the Golden Emperor Gilder Tezzolo. Luffy touched his nose. Your ability to figure out people's hearts is really terrifying. Chapter 262, Luffy who became a totem. Advertisement. Damn it, because of the loss of Whitebeard's restraint, the whole world is starting to become more unstable. Sengoku casually recounted the information handed over and threw it to the goat, frowning and saying. Wahaha, not long ago, I sank 3 rookie pirates in East Blue who couldn't even write battles. Garp laughed proudly. Shut up, even East Blue has become agitated. Sure enough, Marine's troops are seriously insufficient. Sengoku rubbed his eyebrows and said with a headache on his face, the damn world government is disregarding the safety of the people, so can the plan for world conscription be postponed? Wow quack. Don't worry, I have put up my own exclusive signboards on every island in East Blue. When they heard my name, those little pirates have already fled. Haha, am I smart? 827. Garp laughed at Sengoku, thumbs up. Sengoku. Plus Lu, hole, are you a pirate, and still imitate them to hang flags and occupy land? Damn Luffy, what did you say to go to the Fishman Island to see the mermaid? Damn, at this time, the 3 admirals are so busy that they don't even occupy the land. It's all because of him. But Sengoku immediately pondered, it seems, it should really try to find a more ferocious marine to deter the group of pirates who want to go to sea. A few weeks later, on the site where Marine belongs, the photos of Luffy killing Whitebeard in 1 minute at noon are all over the islands. At this time on the Melee, Hancock came out of the kitchen with a large pot of food. After Sanji went to study, Hancock contracted the cooking job. In her opinion, it was an extremely happy thing to be able to cook for Luffy. At this time, on the Melee, the only member of the original Straw Hats was Robin, who was still by Luffy's side. Frankie went to the Sky Island base to study lunar technology, where the technology is no worse than Vegapunk's technology. The rest are Ain, CC, Hiyori, and Khalifa. As for Kanjuro, Luffy sent him directly to Doflamingo to collect intelligence through the government-only channel. Although he knew that this guy was an undercover agent, he even thought of to die with Odin. So there is no need to worry about that guy making trouble for himself before the crusade against Kaido. The first thing I have to do now is to find the Golden Emperor Gilder Tessero, an independent country recognized by the world government, the world's largest entertainment city, Grand Tessero. King. Advertisement. Bailey, who holds 20% of the pirate world, as long as he is taken down, Marine's military expenditure problem will be solved in an instant. That's a business genius who started from scratch and developed into a wealthy country. Coupled with the hatred between celestial dragons, he is definitely a rare talent. As for opening a casino and squeezing those gamblers who lost their bets. Just kidding, you can find a casino in New World and lose everything. Except for pirates, there are only rich and unkind nobles. For these people, Luffy has nothing to pity. However, although I have seen the bubbles in Sabaody, I never thought that they would not be crushed in such a deep sea. Robin sighed as he looked at Bubbles supporting the Melee. Although I also want to explain to you, it is obvious that this world does not belong to Newton. Luffy laughed and walked to the lawn to prepare for dinner. Suddenly a pair of giant light bulbs appeared outside the Mary. Ah, Hiyori screamed, pointing at the 2 giant light bulbs with her little finger. Oh, Luffy glanced over the ship in surprise. Sea Kings, dinner is ready. No, if the bubbles are broken, we will be instantly swallowed by the high pressure of the sea water. In looked at Sea Kings with a changed face. Circus C. Looked at Sea Kings blankly with the pizza in his mouth, then walked towards the dining table as if nothing had happened. Hello, Miss C. Circa. In looked at CC. In surprise. It's nothing to make a fuss about. Khalifa pushed his glasses and came down from the upper deck at this time. The owner of this ship is Monkey D. Luffy. Hey, I'd be embarrassed to hear you say that. Luffy spread his hands and looked out of the ship. At this time, the Sea Kings in the deep sea opened a huge mouth bigger than the Melee and directly swallowed towards the ship. Ah, Luffy Vice Admiral. In hurriedly closed his eyes in fright, but at this time he was in the deep sea thousands of meters away. Even if she didn't have demon fruit power, she would only be crushed to pieces instantly when exposed to the water pressure of such a deep sea. Advertisement. There's nothing to worry about, why should I ask? Hancock raised his head and pointed at the sea kings outside the boat. That's because the owner of this boat is my concubine's husband. The body of sea kings who opened his mouth suddenly twitched. The whole person seems to be under the pressure of terror and is gradually shrinking towards the middle. And in the cabin, Luffy's right hand clenched slowly as if holding something out of thin air. The sea kings outside the boat was crushed by Luffy in an instant. Nani, what ability? IN looked at the bloody sea kings outside the boat in shock. Luffy grinned, and looked at his attribute panel, and sure enough, the ability to read is a group of things that are easy to use. Open black lens bracket host. Wong Luffy Monkey D. Luffy close black lens bracket. Current loading template. Trembling tornado. Open black lens bracket innate ability. Psychic power close black lens bracket. Equipment existing Samahata, Mizunohu expired, Desert Eagle, Bunny Girl suit, Kanai 1 set, Action CD, Goblin Horn, DVD player. Talent skills. 100% being caught empty-handed with a white blade immediately. 4.0 Blood Succession Limit Rinnegan, Code God Power, Hacker Ability, Fire Control, Semi-Awakening. When you lose consciousness, you will fall into a semi-awakened state, and play your own body full strength. The 1 Ace Kano template obtained can force the body to enter the low-profile version, 1 minute at noon, through hypnosis, and the strength will increase by 500% within 1 minute transformation technique. Close black lens bracket. Bond 1. Circa C. IQ plus 10 when forming a team. Bond 2. Empress Boa Hancock. The more injured the host is, the stronger Hancock will be, and the increase in strength is affected by the strength of the host. Open black lens bracket achievement points. 146,537 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket favorites. 19 close black lens bracket. Title. Famous all over the world. I am God. Pretend criminal. Big camp. 3 legs. Chapter 263 The Harvest of Summit War. Directly to Mermaid Island. Advertisement. Summit War. Luffy gained not only fame. The 100% restoration of the Ace Kano template directly draws the hidden pseudo-ultimate skill, the 1. Originally, Ace Kano's sun magic power was changed by the rising and falling of the sun. At noon, Ace Kano's strength would reach its peak, but at night, it was weaker than an ordinary strong man. However, there was a time when she was fighting Gorther, the crime of lust, who was also one of the 7 deadly sins. In the hypnosis Vice Admiral, Ma Lin became the sun in her heart, and she exploded with a power far exceeding that of the morning form. It can also exert several times the normal strength. And it was this skill that Luffy drew. In addition to skills, Luffy also completed several achievement tasks such as 4 Emperors, First Kill, and Terminator of the Old Age, which directly increased the achievement points by 100,000 to a terrifying 140,000. In this way, the skills of many previously collected cards can be exchanged. And the newly obtained 14 title, 3 legs standing, is different from the previous achievements. Obtaining it can passively increase the morale of the faction plus 10. This is the first faction buff after Luffy gathers Marine, which is similar to the ability of the Revolutionary Army cadres to encourage fruit. However, in the next random template, only an ordinary genin from Sand Shinobi Village was randomly selected. Fortunately, he obtained the transformation technique from the basic 3-body technique, which gave Luffy a good comfort. After all, it is considered a low-profile version of Clone Fruit's ability. And when Luffy was preparing to go to the Fishmen Island, this latest template came with him. Thrilling Tornado. Ranked second among S-class heroes in One Punch Man. Tornado can be ranked second in the S-class hero, and its strength is definitely the undoubted peak of the Dragon class. Apart from Saitama and Blast, there is no opponent for this guy among humans. And her innate abilities and moves are not as fancy as other templates, there is only one, and that is telekinetic power. A powerful superpower that can act on reality through powerful spiritual power. Sea Kings of the previous size are no different from ants in front of the Tornado template, and they can be crushed easily. Luffy called Ain, who was almost paralyzed from fear, to come to eat. Ian looked at Luffy with a look of admiration and shouted, "It really deserves to be the Luffy Vice Admiral who defeated Whitebeard." Advertisement. At this time, Robin looked strangely at the deep sea outside the bubble and asked, "Luffy, why do I feel there is a figure outside?" Huh. Luffy stared at the turbid sea water for a moment, stretched out his hand and waved. A slender figure was pulled from the deep sea into the air bubbles. This is. Robin stared blankly at the figure, Kami. Kami with short green hair and red fish tail appeared in front of everyone. "Ah, don't eat me." Kami, who was fainted at first, shuddered back and forth on the deck. The next moment she felt as if she was in the air, and then she opened her eyes and looked around. "Brother Luffy." Kami burst into tears and threw herself into Luffy's arms. Since the last time Luffy took her to fulfill her dream and rescued her from a trafficker, she regarded Luffy as her big brother. Luffy took it out of his arms and looked at the poor Kami speechlessly. "You won't be eaten by sea kings again." Kami stuck out her tongue embarrassingly. "I planned to pick up brother Luffy from the Sabaody archipelago, but I was eaten in a daze on the way." Luffy shook his head helplessly. "Isn't Papagu with you this time?" Kami's face suddenly changed. "Ah, Papagu. Found it." Robin fished a starfish out of the sea with his hands and threw it on the deck. "I'm going to die. I'm going to die." Papagu thumped back and forth, feeling the air jumping up. Sure enough, Papagu, have a great life. Yo. Luffy smiled and said hello to this talking starfish who hypnosis himself. Luffy Vice Admiral. Papagu trembled in fright, hurriedly said cautiously, Kami hurry up and salute Luffy Vice Admiral. This is the mastermind who wiped out the Whitebeard pirate group, especially when the entire Whitebeard pirate group was wiped out without hesitation, making many pirates who watched the live broadcast on the Sabaody archipelago terrified. Okay, I take Kami as my sister, besides, aren't you here to pick me up? Advertisement. Luffy waved his hand and said, sometimes when your status reaches a certain level, many of your friends would treat you with respect, but there is no way to do it. This is exactly what the high-ranking man said. However, the big Kami is definitely not among them. She asked Luffy excitedly, and did not become restrained at all because of Luffy's higher status. At this time, Hiyori, who was hiding behind Ain, saw Kami's eyes shining brightly, wanting to touch her but not daring to touch her, almost turning her cute. Huh, brother Luffy, is that your child? Kami looked at Hiyori strangely and asked. Luffy, how can it be? Immediately, Luffy told Kami and the others about Hiyori's experience, and the emotional Kami was immediately sympathetic. And Ain was also filled with righteous indignation and expressed his disdain to Kaido. Sure enough, as the teacher said, the pirates are all damned. Robin, Hancock, and Century C didn't feel anything. Of these three, one had a dark belly, the other only cared about how Luffy 410 would compete for favor among the girls every day, and the other had lived for thousands of years and ignored everything. Okay, this trip to New World is to solve Marine's funding problem. Liberating Wano Kuni will not be completed in a short while. After all, Marine does not have enough troops to garrison New World. Otherwise, it will be considered annihilation of the Kaido pirates, nor can Wano Kuni be liberated. And just to solve the problem of the Fishmen Island by the way. Robin was taken aback when he heard the words, are you looking for Poseidon? Luffy sneered, and tapped Robin's forehead. Don't underestimate your man, I haven't fallen to the point where I rely on a woman as a weapon. Robin blushed and muttered softly, you are not my man. IN looked at Luffy in shock, Poseidon. The legendary Poseidon, one of the three ancient weapons. Are you curious? Hee, I heard that she is the most beautiful woman in the world. Luffy laughed. When Hancock saw Luffy's appearance, he ran to the side and shut himself up in heartbreak, and a complete set of Chong Yao's drama began to emerge in his mind. Luffy touched his nose. It's time to speed up. Speaking of which, the whole ship was wrapped by the power of thought, and the speed exploded and went straight to the bottom of the 10,000-meter seabed. Chapter 264 Luffy who was rejected. Advertisement. Across the dark sea, everyone looked at the scene in front of them in shock. A huge double-layer semicircular bubble film shield surrounds the entire island. Although located under the deep ocean, there is also sky and clouds. The giant tree, Yangshu Eve, growing near the Fishmen Island transmits the sunlight from the ground to the Fishmen Island, so that the Fishmen Island, which is 10,000 meters under the sea, can also feel the change of day and night. The Fishmen Island, which should be full of ugly deep-sea fish, is now like a tropical beach with countless colorful Madara swimming fish wantonly. Luffy controlled the melee to a channel inlaid on the spherical steam drum, which is the immigration inspection intersection of the Fishmen Island. As a marine, Luffy naturally doesn't need to rush into the Fishmen Island as hard as before. Quote. A mermaid soldier in charge of guarding widened his eyes when he saw Luffy's appearance, then looked at Luffy viciously and shouted, get out of here quickly. You are not welcome. IN looked at the guard in surprise and said, wait a minute. We are just passing by, and we have the legal procedures, right? If you say you are not welcome, you are not welcome. Get out of here. The mermaid guard shouted at Luffy and the others angrily, raising the spear in his hand to face Luffy, if you don't leave, I will attack. You little ants dare to block the path of the concubine, I will turn you into stone. Hancock said angrily, pointing at the guard. Stop, Hancock. Luffy hastily called to stop Hancock, and turned to look at the guards. You should call the royal family here. Blocking the naval headquarters vice admiral ship privately is not something you, a small soldier, can afford. The soldier took a few steps back in fright, and then he took courage again when he saw the deep sea outside. This is a 10,000-meter deep sea, and the pressure alone is unbearable for ordinary people. Just when Xiaobing wanted to keep Luffy and others away. A blue-haired mermaid holding a trident led the guards to the door. Stop. How can you be so unreasonable to a distinguished guest? Shark. Prince Shark Star. The soldier sat down on the ground in fright. Shark Star frowned and looked at the soldier. You don't want to be in this post. Advertisement. But, the soldier wanted to refute something, but Sha Xing stared back fiercely. Then Shark Star led Luffy and others to drive the melee into the Fishmen Island. Sorry, for some reason, the people on the Fishmen Island may have misunderstood you. Prince Sharkstar apologized to Luffy. Is it because of Whitebeard and Jinbei? Luffy said indifferently. Sharkstar didn't know what to say in embarrassment. Because what Luffy said was right, the Fishmen Island was protected by Whitebeard, so although there were many pirates passing by, no one dared to do anything to the Fishmen Island. So Whitebeard is a benefactor to the Fishmen Island. And Jinbei was willing to be dispatched by Whitebeard in order to repay his favor, calling him his father, which is also the reason why he was unwilling to join the battle. I'm not so heartless, Luffy waved his hand indifferently. Sharkstar breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the person in front of him is not a demonic existence as the passing pirates said. Relying on the protection of pirates is our dereliction of duty as a marine. This time we are here to help you solve the problem of oppression by pirates, and by the way complete the things we promised you Murlocs. Luffy entered the range of the Fishmen Island with the leadership of Prince Sharkstar. The Fishmen Island, which is obviously on the seabed, is surrounded by a huge bubble under the mangroves in Sabaody, with blue sky and white cloud, just like the islands on land. Prince Sharkstar guided the melee to the port and stopped. Immediately, Luffy and others drove towards the Dragon King Palace on the Dragon King in the palace seat. Since the Dragon King Palace is located on the top of the Fishmen Island where the sun can shine on the peak, only the Dragon King car that is wrapped in bubbles and can fly in the sky can reach it. At this time, King Neptune led Emperor Wangxing and Prince Rolling Star to greet him at the gate of the palace. It is an honor for us, the Fishmen Island, to have Mr. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Luffy here in person. Neptune extended his hand politely to the leader Luffy. Luffy stepped forward, shook hands with him and said with a smile, "Nice to meet you, King Neptune." Advertisement. Then Neptune led Luffy to the banquet hall in Dragon King Palace and sat down. I don't know why Master Luffy came to the Fishmen Island this time. I think if you are going to the New World, your marine has a special channel. King Neptune asked Luffy. Sabaody Archipelago has a special elevator channel for marine, and you can reach New World by climbing over the red line. There are many dangers on the way to the Fishmen Island, and less than 30% of the ships safely reach the Fishmen Island, and very few marines are willing to go to the New World through the Fishmen Island. And this is why the price of mermaids in the human trafficking auction is so high. There are two main things to come here this time, Luffy said, holding out a glass of red wine. One is to form an alliance with the Fishmen Island instead of Marine. Marine is allied with the Fishmen Island. Neptune was taken aback. The Fishmen Island is originally a member of the world government. I think you misunderstood. It is Marine and the Fishmen Island allied. Luffy explained to Neptune with a smile. King Neptune was taken aback after hearing this. Is there any difference? Doesn't Marine belong to the world government? That was before the Summit War. Luffy interrupted Neptune. You heard my declaration at the time of execution. Neptune was stunned for a moment, and said with a dry mouth, good lees, about that the Emperor broke the law and committed the same crime as the common people. That was a naked provocation to the world noble celestial dragons. So, I'm trying to win allies in advance for Marine. Luffy said with a smile. Neptune swallowed deeply, and said this matter so bluntly and unceremoniously, it is enough to show that the relationship between Marine and world government is probably already in jeopardy. And it is obvious that Luffy is siding with the Fishmen Island, whether he is on the side of the world government or the side of the Marine. Neptune was a little hesitant. The horror of celestial dragons was still vivid in his memory. Then what is the second thing about Luffy Vice Admiral? The second thing. Luffy put down his wine glass and said with a smile. It's me who is going to pull the Fishmen Island from the bottom of the sea to the surface. Neptune's face suddenly changed. What? Chapter 265 Migration the Fishmen Island. Advertisement. Impossible. What are you kidding? Neptune sat up from his seat in fright. Do I seem to be kidding you? Luffy looked at Neptune with a serious face and said, my name is Monkey D. Luffy, I am a member of the D family. Clan of D. Neptune was startled, and he instantly remembered the legend that had been circulating for 800 years. On a certain day 800 years ago, Joey Boye made an agreement with a certain generation of mermaid princesses to build Noah and pray that the Fishmen Island would be moved to the surface of the sea one day. Later, due to unknown reasons, Joey Boye failed to fulfill his promise, causing Noah to be broken after 800 years. But the mermaids have been waiting for someone from the D family who was said to be able to restore Noah's contract. Does Lord Luffy want to fix Noah? Neptune said excitedly. No. Luffy raised his eyebrows. Noah is used by the residents of the Fishmen Island to migrate, and Shirahoshi has not yet awakened the ability to be Poseidon, right? You can't move that without Super Giant Sea King's thing. Nani? Neptune stared at Luffy nervously. How do you know that Shirahoshi is? As the ancient weapon Poseidon, Shirahoshi is obviously a top secret. Only Roger, the One Piece, heard the historical text. Neptune looked at Robin, and then said with a bad face, Your Excellency Luffy wants to form an alliance with us for the sake of 470 Shirahoshi. Just Poseidon. Luffy narrowed his eyes. The green light of telekinetic power instantly enveloped the entire Upper Dragon Palace city. The surrounding guards surrounded Luffy and others with vigilance. Suddenly, the entire Dragon Palace city shook violently, and King Neptune, ministers, and guards swayed left and right. Nani? What happened? Neptune looked around in horror. Not good. Your Majesty the King. Advertisement. A guard ran over from outside the hall in panic. Go to the sea. It takes. What happened to the sea? Neptune asked anxiously. Down into the sea, and floated up. The guard said to Neptune in shock. What did you say? Neptune was shocked. The Fishmen Island is divided into 3 layers. The top layer is the Dragon Palace city, which is the closest to the sun, surrounded by small air bubbles. The second layer is the middle layer where the ministers and nobles of the Dragon Palace kingdom live. The lowest layer is also the island body of the Fishmen Island, which is called the sea by the mermaids. Located at the bottom of the 3rd floor of the Fishmen Island, it belongs to the place where ordinary civilians live, and it is also the main island of the Fishmen Island. Usually, the area on the 3rd floor is next to a connecting corridor. However, at this time, Neptune saw through the gate of the Dragon Palace that Shanghai, which was originally below, was standing parallel to the Dragon Palace city. And from the banquet hall, you can also see the mermaids and murlocs who panicked because of the movement of the Fishman Island. How can it be? Neptune looked at the terrifying scene in front of him in horror. Is this something humans can do? Luffy held the wine glass in one hand and lifted the other up, as if doing a trivial thing. As you can see, I'm talking about sending you to the sea together with the Fishman Island. As for the location, the naval headquarters base is about to be relocated to the New World G1 base recently. I think the Fishman Island will settle in the naval headquarters base. Wouldn't it be much safer around here? Luffy smiled and said to the terrified Neptune, of course, as our marine's sincerity, we can release the original 7 warlords of the sea Jinbei who was imprisoned in Impel Down. Prince Sharkstar hurriedly stood up and asked Luffy, what you said is true. Are you really going to let brother Jinbei go? The purpose of destroying the Whitebeard pirates is to clear the territory for Marine to settle in New World. Now the Whitebeard territory has been completely vacant. It's just a Jinbei. We don't need to hold on to it. After all, the Whitebeard pirates or the captain also escaped a lot from that war. Advertisement. The eldest Prince Sharkstar was overjoyed when he heard this. He looked at his father. But Neptune hesitated to speak, and finally he shook his head. Even if we agree, I am afraid that the people of the Fishman Island will not agree. Back then, Otahime made the move to move the Mermaid Island to the ground. A lot of hard work, but Shark Star, Emperor Star, Biba, and Crash Star had livid faces on their faces. At the beginning, when his mother brought back the signatures of the nobles of the world agreeing to establish friendly relations between the Murlocs and humans, they were assassinated by human pirates while collecting the signatures. Her collection of signatures was also set on fire. I deeply sympathize with Princess Otahime, but the assassination of the princess was not done by human pirates. Luffy said lightly while drinking red wine. What did you say? Neptune looked at Luffy after hearing the words. I think there were many Murlocs on the Fishman Island who opposed moving to the land and advocated breaking with humans. Luffy knew that the death of Princess Otahime was killed by Hody Jones, who was a Murloc. In the end, blame it on human pirates. The faces of Neptune and the others turned ugly. Please don't doubt our compatriots casually. Even if they hate humans, they will definitely not attack Otahime who is a mermaid. At this time, it is not 2 years later, the new Murloc pirates have not yet been established, and the relationship between Neptune and the Murloc has not reached the point where fire and water are incompatible. Therefore, they are very dissatisfied with Luffy for placing the assassination on the head of the Murlocs, and feel that Luffy is stirring up disputes within his own kingdom. I believe that you also have corresponding doubts. After all, human pirates will not do such thankless things. Even if it is for their interests, you mermaids move to the sea. It's much easier to catch mermaid slaves than it is now, isn't it? Luffy calmly stated a cruel reality. That's right, if the mermaid clan moved to the surface of the sea at that time, it might be a great opportunity for these greedy pirates to make a fortune. After all, compared to the Murlocs under 10,000 meters in the deep sea, the chances are even greater, and they have no reason to cut off their money. Looking at Neptune and the others who were lost in thought, Luffy smiled and said, it's rare to come here. Wouldn't it be a pity not to see the unparalleled beauty of the mermaid princess in the legend? I don't know if King Neptune can give you a recommendation. Neptune was taken aback, then quickly shook his head. No, Shirahoshi is inconvenient to see people. Van der Daken the Ninth, how can I say that I am also a marine, and solving pirates is my job? Since I know that innocent people are being harassed by pirates, then I must not sit still. Luffy stood up immediately after speaking go out of the banquet hall. Neptune's face changed and he hurriedly stopped. Wait a minute. Your Excellency Luffy. However, a wave of conquerors' hockey swept the hall, and the guards all around rolled their eyes and fell to the ground instantly. Neptune and the 3 princes sat on the ground sweating profusely. Luffy looked at them coldly. I've already treated you very politely. If I want, I can destroy the Fishman Island at any time. You can try to see if the Sea Kings called by Shirahoshi can stop me. After speaking, Luffy walked directly towards the hard shell tower where Shirahoshi was. Chapter 266. The Poor Coward Shirahoshi. Advertisement. Robin looked at Luffy's back and touched his cheek and said, I thought he had **X change. Circus C. Is eating the specially made seafood in the Dragon Palace with a happy face. These clams that are bigger than the face are not available in Lelouch's world. At this time, Luffy was floating in the corridor in the Dragon Palace city, and the corridor that was originally covered with seawater was pushed away by Luffy's thoughts, power. Soon Luffy walked into a bubble-wrapped hallway. Different from the magnificence of the Dragon Palace, the corridors here are made of thick deep-sea rocks, and the walls are wrapped with layers of iron plates. As Luffy advances, streaks of damage from various weapons begin to appear on the walls. On a heavy wooden and iron-clad gate ahead, there are many weapons thrown by Van der Daken. Seeing this, Luffy frowned, and with a wave of his hand, those weapons were instantly removed from the door and thrown out of the castle. The huge gate opened under Luffy's control, and the room was completely dark at this time. In order to prevent the weapons thrown by Van der Daken, the entire crust tower has no windows. Excuse me, who came in? A panicked voice came from the darkness. Luffy snapped his fingers, and the chandelier in the room was turned on, instantly brightening the room. Long draperies, a huge bed with nightstands and 2 bedside lamps, and a finely carved chandelier loomed before Luffy's eyes. On the giant bed, there is a woman with long flowing pink curly hair, taiyaki-shaped hair accessories, and a pair of shell-shaped earrings. She has bright blue eyes, a beautiful appearance, and a plump body. The upper circumference, the lower body is a huge mermaid with pink fish tail in shades and shades. Appearing in front of Luffy's eyes lit up at the moment when he saw Shirahoshi. Shirahoshi, who is recognized by the pirate world as surpassing the Empress in appearance, really has something extraordinary. The skin has not become rough with its huge body, but is more firm like white jade. The proud figure satisfies all Luffy's fantasies about mermaids. It's just that the size comparable to a titan made Luffy feel a little embarrassed, and I saw that Luffy directly made a tiger seal, transformation technique. There was a bang of smoke. Suddenly a large Luffy appeared in front of Shirahoshi. He looked at Shirahoshi, who was about the same age as himself, and nodded. It looks much more comfortable this way. Advertisement. And Shirahoshi was taken aback by the transformation technique. She stared at Luffy with tears in her eyes and asked, You are here to take my life, right? But I am not afraid at all, because I am the daughter of Neptune, the sea god, so I will not be afraid. No will be afraid. While talking, Shirahoshi's tears flowed down like a flood that burst a bank, and then he covered his eyes with his hands and cried loudly, Wow. Come quickly. Father. Brother Wong. Someone wants to kill I. Shirahoshi was just 14 at the time, but she had been out of the Crust Tower for 8 years. He has been imprisoned in this dark room since he was 6 years old, all because he was marked by Van der Daken X with the target fruit ability when Princess Otahime died. Since then, Shirahoshi has become his sniper target. At first Van der Daken X just threw the marriage proposal to Shirahoshi. As time went by, it started to become a threat, and later it turned into an assassination, because Van der Daken X of pervert asked Shirahoshi to connect with his mother's funeral. There is no way to attend. Luffy arrived at Mermaid Island 2 years ahead of schedule this time, so naturally he also wanted to free this poor mermaid princess who was treated like a madman as soon as possible. He stepped forward and touched the head of the mermaid princess, and softly comforted him. Don't worry, I am a guest invited by your father, and this time I will deal with that fellow Van der Daken X for you. Woo, you human must have come to this room to kill me, father would not let anyone come in here. Shirahoshi choked up while crying. However, at this moment, a huge axe followed Luffy to open the gate and slashed at it. It was Van der Daken X who threw the weapon. Luffy frowned, the clothes on his body fluttered without any wind, and with a ding sound, the huge axe was fixed in the midair tremblingly and swayed back and forth. An invisible force acted on the giant axe in an attempt to break free from Luffy's control, as if it would not stop until it hit the target. Luffy's eyes sharpened, and the giant axe was instantly compressed into an iron ball by telekinetic power and fell to the ground. Asking for flowers, Shirahoshi, who was crying so much, stared blankly at Luffy and the iron ball on the ground and asked in a low voice, You are really the father who came to help me lift the curse. Luffy heaved a sigh of relief. Shirahoshi, who has been hiding in the hard-shell tower since he was 6 years old, suffers from the fear of being hit by various weapons every day. It is already a resolute character not to be driven crazy. He comforted her softly. Don't worry, no one would dare to hurt you with me. Shirahoshi burst into tears when he heard the words. Advertisement. Luffy sighed helplessly. The psychological shadow that lasted for 8 years could not be comforted by a single sentence at all. Is there anywhere you want to go? I can take you there. No. Shirahoshi shook his head excitedly. The axe that flew just now was thrown by a man named Van der Daken. I rejected his marriage proposal, so he has always hated me. That man my lord possesses the demonic power of the target fruit, and I seem to be able to become his target and be hit by him no matter when and where. Shirahoshi said tearfully. So, it's dangerous outside, I can only stay in this hard shell, I can't go out even a step. Luffy scratched his head helplessly. So, as I said, no one can hurt you with me in this world. But Shirahoshi still buried his head in the blanket and shook his head. No, I'm afraid. Luffy touched his nose helplessly and smiled. Okay, if that's the case, let's change it. Shirahoshi looked at Luffy suspiciously. Another way. Luffy chuckled, and the whole hard shell tower began to shake violently in an instant. What happened? Shirahoshi gripped the edge of the bed nervously. Luffy comforted softly. It's nothing, just take you out for a stroll. Shirahoshi was confused. At this time, a violent shaking was also felt in the banquet hall. The ministers asked loudly in panic, what happened? A soldier ran in from the door panting heavily. Report, your majesty. Hard shell tower it. Neptune got up in a hurry and asked, what's wrong with the hard shell tower? The hard shell tower, it flew away. Neptune is. Chapter 267. Mere humans. Advertisement. The hard shell tower that imprisoned Shirahoshi rose directly from the air bubble where the Dragon Palace was located, right under the shocked eyes of the many guards of the Dragon Palace. What's the matter? What's the matter? Shirahoshi covered himself in the blanket with a terrified expression. At this time, the hard shell tower plunged straight into the coral hill that went down to the sea with a puff. Ah, what happened? In the mermaid cafe on the side, Mrs. Xiarli led a group of mermaid girls out of the cafe. At the same time, a group of pirates with machetes appeared. One of the bearded pirates yelled loudly, it's useless for anyone to come today. Without the protection of the Whitebeard pirates, we can capture you mermaids without restraint. Ha ha ha. However, just after he finished laughing, he suddenly felt an invisible 133 pressure acting on his body. What's going on? What's going on here? It hurts. It hurts. The pirate screamed in horror. The next second, there was a sound of bone cracking, and the pirate screamed and was crushed into a puddle of mud and fell to the ground. Captain, Who is it? The younger brothers glanced around in shock and anger. At this time the door of the hard shell tower outside the hall opened directly. The giant Luffy using the transformation technique slowly walked out of the door holding Shirahoshi covering his face. When I came out, I saw that such a disgusting thing dared to be a pirate. It seems that your death is not miserable enough. Golden Lion Shu, Shira. The pirates looked at Luffy in horror and shouted, why is it so big? Did you forget, idiot, when he was fighting Whitebeard? Run. Many pirates scattered and fled in all directions. However, while they were running, they suddenly found themselves flying up, and crashed heavily towards the deep sea outside the Fishman Island. Advertisement. With a puff, the high pressure of the 10,000-meter sea directly crushed the group of pirates together. After doing all this, Luffy stuffed Shirahoshi into a bubble swim ring and floated in the air. Shira, Princess Shirahoshi. Mrs. Shiarly looked at the mermaid princess in shock. Shirahoshi buried his head on Luffy's shoulder and refused to come out. Don't, it's dangerous outside the door. But also at this time, countless arrows pierced the sea water and shot towards Sun Shing. Mrs. Shiarly and the mermen screamed in terror, but the arrow was frozen in the air just before it could hit Shirahoshi. Immediately there was a clicking sound, and the arrow's shot scattered all over the ground. Shirahoshi opened her eyes in fear, and immediately saw the beautiful scenery in the sea. She looked around excitedly. The last time she saw this was 8 years ago when she was young. Mrs. Shiarly looked at Shirahoshi and Luffy in shock. How could Princess Shirahoshi be with him? The prophecy that I claim to be 100% accurate has never divined this person, or I can't predict any information about this person since a certain day. Shirahoshi hid behind Luffy and looked around excitedly. Did I do something bad? Am I taking a risk? What kind of adventure is this? If you want to be adventurous, how about I take you to land? Luffy said to Shirahoshi with a smile. Land, do you see the sun there? Are there stars? Are there green forests everywhere? Shirahoshi was excited when he heard the word land, and the fish's tail swung back and forth like a puppy. Mrs. Shiarly asked Luffy solemnly, Golden Lion Vice Admiral, why did you bring Princess Shirahoshi here? Oh, I'll take her out for a walk. Luffy said with a chuckle, as a marine, I like to solve these little disturbances caused by pirates. The Fishman Island at this time is different from 2 years later. The new Murloc pirates have just been established and have not yet started their plan to capture Dragon Palace, nor have they held hostage the pirates who came to the Fishman Island. At this time, there are many pirates on the Fishman Island, and the death of Whitebeard has caused a lot of riots. At this time, many pirates hiding in the dark whispered with ugly faces. Advertisement. No way. How did this guy appear on the Fishman Island? Damn it, is the vibration of the Fishman Island just now related to this guy? No matter what, let's find a way to run quickly. He doesn't have a few pirates alive in his hands. Damn it, I plan to take this opportunity to make a fortune. A Murloc is worth 70 million Baileys. That's the mermaid princess. She looks so beautiful. If you take her away. Exclamation mark. Before the pirate could finish his sentence, he turned into a puddle of blood. The companions around him watched this scene in horror. They had no idea how this person died. And Luffy next to Shirahoshi didn't even change his expression and continued to say to Shirahoshi, didn't you always want to go to Heizaizen? Come and let me take you there. Really? Can I really go? Princess Shirahoshi asked Luffy with a surprised face. Of course. Luffy nodded and smiled. He knew that it was the place where the mermaid princess Otahime was buried after her death. In order to avoid the attack of Vanderdyke and Ix, she didn't even go to her own mother's funeral. She has always had a legacy in her heart. At this time, on the edge of a dilapidated street, a group of vicious-looking Murlocs were staring at Luffy. The leader of the Murloc pirates, Hody Jones, stared at Shirahoshi. You can't be wrong. It's the mermaid princess Shirahoshi. Boss, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Shirahoshi escaped from that hard-shell tower. A little Murloc Bodhidharma excitedly said to Hody Jones, as long as we take down Shirahoshi, we can threaten Neptune 3.3 and hand over control of the Dragon Palace Kingdom. Hammond on the side said with some fear, but next to her is the Marine Vice Admiral known as the Shira Golden Lion, that is a demon that can kill even the strongest man in the world with a beard. Hody Jones slapped Hammond away with a slap. Shut up. You are just a mere human, and the guy who can't even breathe in water is an inferior race that should be ruled by us. Hody Jones said excitedly. What's more, we still have that thing. Hurry up and contact that guy Vanderdyke and Ix. Call all your companions. History has been wrong so far, let's fix it today. The eyes of the Murlocs of the new Murloc pirates are all red with excitement. Chapter 268 Poseidon Awakening. Advertisement. Under the guidance of Mrs. Shiarly, Luffy took Shirahoshi to a dreamland. There are sunken ships that drift here with the current. Colorful corals, swimming fish can be seen everywhere, huge whales and leisurely sea turtles wander in this sun-blessed underwater forest of Sun Tree Eve. Looking at the vibrant place alone, it is completely impossible to believe that this place is in the deep sea. Shirahoshi was excitedly wandering freely in the sea at this time, all the fish and animals surrounded him kindly without any fear. Soon before the two came to a courtyard, a bulging grave appeared in front of them. Shirahoshi leaned forward excitedly and lay down in front of the grave, tears streaming from his eyes. Mom, I finally came to see you. After 8 years, Shirahoshi finally came to worship at his mother's grave. At this time, several huge shadows appeared to block the sunlight of Yangshu Eve. Shirahoshi raised his head in panic, and 10 giant sea beasts appeared above the two of them. Van der Dyken X looked at Shirahoshi excitedly and laughed loudly. Wow, ha ha ha, my dear Shirahoshi, you are finally willing to come out of that hard-shell tower, you really love me. Are you willing to break through every barrier and come to meet me? Haha, no one can stop the love between 14 and us. Shirahoshi's face turned pale with fright, and immediately hid behind Luffy. Hody Jones looked at Shirahoshi with disdain. You are still so cowardly, princess, just like your useless mother. What do you want us Murlocs and humans to coexist peacefully? What a joke. That lowly race deserves to be compared with us. I want to control the Dragon Palace Kingdom and challenge those lowly humans. Shirahoshi poked his head out tremblingly, suppressing his fear and shouting, Father and brother will never allow you to do this. Ha ha ha, your father and king will soon go away with your mother as he did back then. Hody Jones said with a laugh. Shirahoshi was taken aback when he heard the words. What do you mean? What do you mean? Hody Jones showed a resentful expression on his face. Your damn mother actually tried to let our superior Murlocs live in peace with those lowly humans. Of course I want to send him to meet our murdered Murlocs. The dead compatriots of human cruelty. Shirahoshi had an unbelievable expression on his face when he heard the words. Didn't mother die at the hands of those human pirates? Advertisement. Ha ha ha, naive, it's okay to tell you. Anyway, after this matter is over, you will go to hell with your damned weak father and brother. Hody Jones had an evil smile on his face. I killed your mother with my own hands. Why? Like this. Shirahoshi's eyes showed a shocked expression, and he covered his head in pain. An invisible wave spread in all directions. Luffy narrowed his eyes slightly. This is. At this time, Hody Jones turned his head and looked at Lu fiercely. This is the territory of our Murlocs. You have the guts to break into the sea forest. Today we will tear you, a marine hero, into the sea. Look at the gap between you humans and us Murlocs. Thousands of Murlocs from the Murloc pirates surrounded Luffy and Shirahoshi with strange smiles, and sea beasts tens of meters high surrounded them tightly. I always wanted to be Brother Arlong's right-hand man, but I suddenly received the news that his ambition was blocked. Do you know how heartbroken this makes me? Now I have established the new Murloc pirates, just to inherit the will of Brother Arlong and complete the rule over the lowly race like you humans. So go to hell, lowly human race, kill him. As Hody Jones yelled, the younger brothers of the Murloc pirates rushed towards Luffy. Thousands of Murlocs sprinted at high speed in the water and killed them with various weapons in hand. With a bang, Luffy released the transformation technique, and put the camera shell into his arms. You are really a good person, you have saved me a lot of trouble. I was still thinking about how to find that idiot Van der Dyken X, but I didn't expect you to bring him here. Luffy looked at the Murlocs rushing up and grinned. Now that I think about what Arlong did to us navigators, I still seem to be a little bit aggrieved, and I'm worried that you idiots will come here by themselves. I think whether it's Neptune or is Jinbei afraid to say anything more. After Luffy finished speaking, a terrifying green light emanated from his body, and the seawater centered on Luffy emptied instantly at a terrifying speed. A Murloc saw in horror that his body was exposed to the air, and was still frozen in the air. Nani? What happened? Boss Hody, I can't move, help me. It hurts. Boss, help me, the Murlocs yelled in the air in horror. Hody Jones and the Cadres looked at the strangely floating pirate crew members with a look of shock. Devil Fruit ability. Impossible. You were clearly in the sea just now. Hody Jones watched in shock as Luffy lost his voice. Advertisement. Luffy has been using telekinesis to form a thin protective shield around himself to isolate the sea water. Although it seems that Luffy is in the water, the essence is no different from being on land. What's more, Luffy does not have the weakness of demon fruit power, even in sea water, it has no effect on it. At this time, the bodies of the Murloc pirates became distorted under the horrified eyes of Hody Jones and others, and they screamed in pain. Boss, help us, Puff Kai. With the sound of blood gushing, thousands of Murlocs spilled blood on the spot like fireworks. The Murloc leader Hadman yelled in horror, the devil. He's a devil. As he spoke, he turned his head and ran wildly out of the air. However, before running a few steps, the entire 547 people were crushed into a pulp like a hydraulic press. The rest of the Cadres looked at Luffy with terrified expressions at this time. This Marine Vice Admiral is more terrifying than the legend. Hody Jones roared. Everyone, don't be afraid. We still have a secret weapon. The Cadres were stunned when they heard the words, and then they were overjoyed. They all took out the medicine that Hody Jones had stolen from Jade Hand Food when he was the guard of the Dragon Palace. Under the influence of fear, everyone stuffed the poison into their mouths as if desperate. Soon the eyes of a group of Murloc Cadres turned red, their hair began to turn gray, and their already swollen muscles were exposed with blue veins. Hody Jones felt the surging power in his body, and a crazy smile appeared on his face. Wow, ha ha ha. It is indeed the secret treasure of the Dragon Palace Kingdom. I am already invincible. Ha ha ha. Mere human beings. Puff Kai. With a bang, Hody Jones, immersed in invincibility, instantly turned into a pool of blood. The Cadres who were about to roar with him were instantly stunned. Luffy withdrew his clenched fist at this time, curled his mouth in disdain and muttered. Fancy bells and whistles. The faces of the Cadres suddenly changed, and the sky demon disintegrated and fled in all directions. However, Luffy looked at the group of Murlocs like headless chickens and didn't stop them, because at this time, the super-electric sea kings in the open sea, comparable to the Fishman Island, had drained the water around them. Poseidon awakens again, spurred on by Hody Jones. Chapter 269 Destroy the New Murloc Pirates, Destroy Murloc Street. Advertisement. Neptune, Prince Sharkstar and the guards who rushed over looked to the outside of the island with horror on their faces. At this time, the entire The Fishman Island is surrounded by super huge sea kings. King, our king. An unspeakable fluctuation spread from among the super giant sea kings. At the same time, there is also Poseidon Shirahoshi, who is also Poseidon, but it is obvious that she is only unconsciously summoned by Hody Jones. A Murloc who ate the poison of S had just escaped from the air created by Luffy's telekinetic power, and was immediately swallowed by the Sea Kings. When the size difference is controlled to a certain extent, the attack will appear extremely weak. Except for those who have mastered high-level armament hockey emission, even an attack at this level on Sea Kings may barely break the size of a scale. Putting it on a human is like being bitten by a flea. Without any surprise, the cadres of the new Murloc pirates were directly swallowed by the mouth of the Sea Kings, which seemed to be a bottomless pit. The king is calling us. The king called us again. The excited super giant Sea Kings unconsciously rolled left and right and set off terrifying huge waves in the deep sea. Without Luffy's support, maybe even the Fishman Island would be affected. How could it be? How could this group of monsters appear again? Neptune looked around in shock, and there were even more monsters than when Otahime met Ren at the beginning. Little girl, are you okay? Little girl, Sharkstar asked Shirahoshi nervously. Shirahoshi burst into tears when he heard the familiar voice, Brother Wong. Woohoo! The murderer who killed his mother was Hody Jones. He wanted to prevent everyone from signing the agreement to move to land, and he wanted to kill dead Father Wong and Wong brother. Wow. Nani. Damn Hody Jones. He's there. I'm going to kill him. The Prince Sharkstar roared angrily. At this time, Luffy leaned forward and pointed to the pool of blood on the ground. Hey, where is it? Why don't you step on it a few more times? Sharkstar looked at the shattered Hody Jones' mouth twitching non-stop, although he wanted to take revenge, but he hadn't perverted yet. At this time, the super giant Sea King surged up again, and Luffy rushed towards it with a wave of conquerors impatient. Rinnegan and psychic power are all strengthened with spiritual energy, coupled with the talent of listening to the voice of all things. Luffy's conquerors at this time has reached an extremely terrifying level. Advertisement. Shut up W degree. The voice directly affects the minds of the super giant Sea Kings through brain waves. The Sea Kings all looked at Luffy, the little flea-like little guy. Who can hear our cries? I am Joey Bowie, here to fulfill the last wish that was not fulfilled 800 years ago and fulfill the original oath. Joey Bowie, you can actually communicate with us. The super giant Sea Kings suddenly became excited again, but this time they didn't take much action, they just looked at Luffy quietly. They already have special talents with super high intelligence and native culture. The birth time of Poseidon and Uranus was predicted many years ago, but ordinary humans cannot communicate with them. Luffy is quiet. Wait a moment, I need your strength to guard the Fishman Island. I will move the Fishman Island to the surface of the sea soon. The voice of the Sea Kings came from the reception, which is exactly the agreement made by a certain generation of mermaid princesses and Joey Boy. But at this moment, Sharkstar's phone bug rang suddenly. It's not good, Prince Sharkstar. Those gangsters from Murloc Street suddenly started to attack various villages and towns, and what? Say it, Sharkstar shouted impatiently. They nailed Princess Otoheim's picture on a wooden board and asked everyone to step on it one by one. Anyone who disagrees will kill everyone. The guard yelled angrily through the phone bug. Nani. Prince Sharkstar and Neptune's expressions changed drastically. Do they want to rebel? Luffy on the side couldn't help complaining and reminded. They originally wanted to rebel. Neptune, Sharkstar. At this time, in the Jubilee Hills where the Mermaid Cafe is located, countless Murloc pirates armed with weapons are arresting villagers everywhere and wreaking havoc. Everyone line up. Hurry up and obey orders. Do you want to be killed? The pirates laughed and threw the photo of Princess Otahime on the ground. Let's all step on it. This is a test. Quote exclamation mark dot 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 quote. The villagers wanted to refute, but the Murloc pirate slashed at him. Sooner or later, this country will belong to Captain Hody, said Carlos Sim, the leader of the Murloc pirates, with a sneer. That is our enemy. Advertisement. In another village, Leopard Zhang sipped his wine. Hey, this is very simple, right? Either step on that portrait, or get out of this island. Are you kidding me? Several villagers shouted at Leopard Zhang angrily. However, a flash of knife light flashed, and the villagers were cut down to the ground immediately. All of a sudden, the whole the Fishman Island fell into rebellion, either by humiliating Princess Otahime to prove that he was an enemy of mankind, or getting out of the Fishman Island, or dying. There was no other choice. And there is no other place in the seabed where the sun can shine except the Fishman Island, and they dare not go to live on land, leaving the Fishman Island is only a dead end. The Prince Sharkstar's face turned livid when he heard the report. What the hell are those guys planning to do? They forced the citizens of this country to step on the portrait of the late mother. Shirahoshi was also whimpering, and at the age of 14 she was more timid than she was 2 years later. Luffy grinned when he saw this, and now his goal has been achieved, and now all the Murlocs with racial discrimination have been exposed. He threw the camera shell that recorded Hody Jones to Neptune. Let me solve it. After all, they are also pirates. Immediately, Luffy's superpowers were fully activated, and the telekinetics cooperated with observation hockey to directly cover the entire the Fishman Island. The Murlocs and pirates who were burning everywhere suddenly felt an infinite force acting on them. Nani. What, okay, happened? The Murlocs and pirates turned pale with fright and struggled desperately but to no avail. Luffy of Heiseisen suddenly opened his eyes, and shook his outstretched palm. Funeral. At the same time, with a puff, the rebellion throughout the Fishman Island was completely suppressed. The Prince Shark Star looked at Luffy strangely. You solve it. How do you solve the problem? At this moment, his phone buzzed again. Prince, big Prince. It's not good. Those Murlocs and pirates exploded. Shark Star was stunned when he heard the words, exploded. At this time, Neptune showed anger on his face after watching Luffy's video. Damn Hody Jones. I'm going to kill him. Luffy and Prince Shark Star looked at Neptune speechlessly, and then pointed to the ground. A puddle of blood. Here, there. Neptune. Chapter 270. The Fishman Island disappeared. Advertisement. This Dragon Palace Kingdom is about to be moved to the ground. With different skin colors and different appearances, we can't wait for the day when humans understand us. We need to approach and understand them more actively. The ground is 10,000 meters away from the seabed, which is the distance between us and human cognition. The humans who come to this island are a group of humans called pirates, and those who buy humans from human traffickers are only those in power named nobles. That's just a small group of extreme humans. There should be many gentle and kind humans on the ground. We want to move the kingdom under the same sun as them. On Cod Square in Geelong, the place where Princess Otohime used to give speeches. At this time, Shirahoshi was speaking to the densely packed residents of the Fishman Island. Finally, she pointed to the terrifying super giant sea kings outside the Fishman Island and said, I swear by these friends. I will swear to protect the safety of the Fishman Island. The citizens look at the black lines on the heads of the huge supergiant sea kings outside the island, and always feel that you are threatening us. And Shirahoshi made such a big change at this time precisely because Neptune led the Dragon Palace Kingdom to formally form an alliance with Luffy. The three-legged title on Luffy directly increased Shirahoshi's morale by 10 points. In an instant, Shirahoshi, who was extremely timid, was pulled by Luffy to the square to speak to the citizens as if he had changed. At this time, the racists in Murloc Street have been wiped out by Luffy when the Murlocs rebelled, and the remaining citizens are almost all doves who have been loved by Princess Otohime for a long time. They looked at each other in blank dismay at Shirahoshi's words, but there was no objection. After all, in their view, even if they moved to the coast, it would definitely not be for a while. However, what they didn't expect was that the Fishman Island suddenly began to shake violently. Everyone looked around in horror. What happened? I saw the Fishman Island and the air bubbles outside the island rising slowly amidst the vibrations. Soon, it escaped from the enveloping range of Yangshu Eve, and flew towards the deep sea. And supergiant sea kings opened the way ahead, and all the rocks, tree roots, and fish blocking the front were swept away by this group of terrifying big guys. Luffy controls the Fishman Island to follow them closely. Soon the Fishman Island left the envelope of Yangshu Eve, and after losing the climate and environment of Sabaody, the bubbles enveloped in the outer circle of the Fishman Island exploded. Countless seawater flooded towards the Fishman Island. The Murlocs and mermaids looked at the seawater in horror and screamed loudly. Shirahoshi was so frightened that he couldn't help shouting, Lord Luffy. At this time, Luffy soared into the air, with a faint green light shining on his body. Immediately he stretched his hands, and a green barrier directly enveloped the entire the Fishman Island. Nani, what's this? Advertisement. Everyone looked in horror at the shining green light covering the island instead of bubbles. The Fishman Island gushes out along the exit of the New World section, and the huge upwelling current pushes the Fishman Island forward quickly. 8,000 meters, 6,000 meters, 4,000 meters. Soon, a ray of sunlight in the sky slowly shone into the eyes of the citizens of the Fishman Island. Look, there is light. Oh my god, is that the sun? Is it sunlight? Everyone looked at the faintly visible sun in the sky in great surprise. At that moment, Luffy frowned tightly, blood flowed from his nose, dragging the entire island out of the 10,000-meter deep sea was more costly than he thought. Originally, Luffy thought that with the strength of a tornado that could drag meteorites down from the sky, it would be easy to pull the Fishman Island to the sea. Unexpectedly, I overestimated the strength of the Dragon Roll template after all. Obviously in the world of One Punch Man, Saitama is on the same level, Blast is on the same level, and the rest of the heroes are only in the human category. At this time, Luffy felt that he had a splitting headache, and his nosebleeds were rushing like he didn't want money. At this time, Robin, Hancock and others noticed the situation of Luffy. Luffy, are you okay? The girls asked Luffy worriedly. Luffy looked at the increasingly bright sea area, his heart skipped a beat, the air door opened, and Whitebeard's body came out of it. The sharp-eyed Aine's face changed drastically when he saw this. Not good. Isn't that Whitebeard's body controlled by the Akatsuki organization? Hurry up and save Luffy, Vice Admiral. Seeing this, Robin hurriedly knocked him unconscious with a knife in his hand. Seeing this, Xiaorai's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly protected Ian, who had fallen into trouble, and said, Why did you beat Sister Xing Ian? Robin threatened Hiyori with a dark belly. Because we are big villains, we can't let her find out our secret. Xiaorai was so frightened by the expressionless Robin that he burst into tears. Khalifa pushed his glasses. I don't know what Master Luffy is planning to do. He even summoned a clone at this time, isn't he afraid of being exposed? Robin shook his head. If he can be guessed by us, he won't be our captain. However, the girls found that Whitebeard pain punched Luffy directly on the back of the head. I rub it, have you betrayed? Advertisement. The girls looked at this unimaginable scene in astonishment, and Luffy was knocked unconscious by Whitebeard pain almost instantly. The protective wall in the sky disappeared instantly, and the monstrous sea water pressed towards the Fishman Island again. This time even Robin began to wonder if there was something wrong with Luffy's method of creating clones. Robin hurriedly prepared to invite everyone to hide on the Mei-Li. After all, the Mei-Li has bubbles plated by craftsmen. However, just when the sea water was about to capsize the entire the Fishman Island, Luffy's fallen body stood up unconsciously. At the same time, terrifying energy erupted from Luffy's body. With a loud bang, the seawater falling from the sky was instantly swept away by the telekinetic power. A golden ball wrapped around the Fishman Island soared into the sky. The speed is dozens of times faster than before. 2000 asterisk. 1000 asterisk. 500. Boom. In a split second, the Fishman Island directly broke through the water and landed on the sea surface of New World. Half awake. When the host loses consciousness, it will fall into a semi-awakened state and display its full strength. The Ace Kano template can be obtained through hypnosis to force the body into a low-profile version of 1 minute at noon, and the strength will be increased by 500% within 1 minute. The two skills that were originally irrelevant, at this moment, combine to exert a strength that far exceeds what it should be. Originally, with Luffy's character, there is no one who can ignite the sun in the heart through hypnosis, so the normal way can't trigger Ace Kano's the one skill at all. However, my wife Shawnee's semi-awakened talent gave Luffy the possibility to trigger the one. When he loses consciousness, he exerts his full strength, and it is obvious that the one belongs to his full strength. The sudden surge of 500% strength directly caused Luffy to drag the Fishman Island out of the bottom of the sea. At this moment, all the Murlocs stared blankly at the blue sky, the white clouds and the dazzling sun and fell into a daze. Because that's the dream of all Murlocs and Merfolk. The Fishman Island has completely disappeared from the bottom of the sea.